Well, hello, my friends. This is Macil Duncan, and welcome to the Macil Duncan Show. This is Monday, and it is burning up hot here in Chattanooga, Tennessee. And I think a lot of us have experienced a little bit of a heat wave, and some of us are really enjoying it. It's a great time to ride your motorcycle. If you happen to have a motorcycle, I highly recommend taking rides here, especially in the Tennessee area. The back roads are amazing. We've got a TBI warning. The TBI has a former principal who is on the TBI most wanted list. He is wanted for rape and incest of a child. He went on the run. He was under house arrest, but his name is 54-year-old Jonathan Earl Rick. Jonathan Earl Rick. He's an ex-principal at Longview Elementary School, and he's wanted by Murray County Sheriff's Office. If you happen to see Jonathan Erwick, 54, ex-principal at Longview Elementary, former principal at elementary school, please call the Murray County Sheriff's Office. You can go to the TBI Most Wanted list and see him there. But Middle Tennessee has been asked. It's a Channel 9 News alert, and I thought I would pass it on to the Chattanooga audience, especially those listening. Well, Disney has done it again. The Daily Wire is reporting that Disney has killed off Anakin Skywalker. Any Star Wars fans out there? I'm not sure. But earlier this month, Disney released their latest installment of Star Wars Saga, and they're going to have evidently the killing off of Anakin Skywalker, which, as you know, is Darth the Vader. So interesting there. I'm not sure how many Star Wars fans are left, but my kids love Star Wars. I used to take my daughters to Star Wars. We'd go to the premieres at midnight and had a blast doing that. Well, Surgeon General is calling for warning labels on social media for young people. This, I think, a lot of folks are very much in favor of. And if you've happened to see, it's been all over the news pretty much this week. But the Surgeon General is calling for warning labels on social media. Surgeon General Vivek Murthy is calling for a mandatory warning label on social media warning users about mental health. He's saying that this is a high risk for teenagers' mental health as they mature. So in an opinion article, the New York Times published Monday that the Attorney General said he wants a Surgeon General's warning on social media platforms similar to the warning labels that appear on tobacco and alcohol products. The tobacco warnings have been shown to increase awareness and change behavior. The mental health crisis among young people is an emergency, and social media has emerged as an important contributor, he wrote. It's time to require a Surgeon General's warning on the social media platforms, stating that social media is associated with significant mental health harms for adolescents. Hello, parents out there, did you hear that? Can I repeat that sentence? It's time to require a Surgeon General's warnings label on social media platforms stating that social media is associated with significant mental health harms for adolescents. And a Surgeon General warning label needs a congressional action and would regularly remind parents and adolescents that social media has not been proved safe. Now, how does that make you feel? So these little things are peeping toms is what they are. If you've got a smartphone, all they do is they listen. Well, sometimes the best thing you can do is turn those things off, put them in a drawer, and just leave them alone for several hours. My advice is when you have dinner, don't allow cell phones at the dinner table, period. Dads, you be the leader in that now, but you should, in my opinion, do away with if you can, do away with the cell phones, because what happens is people start just getting distracted. They're not having engaging conversation, and before you know it, people are literally texting each other at a dinner table. I've actually seen that happen. And it's just sometimes you're making a joke about someone else at the table, but bottom line, you should have some interaction and teach your kids social skills. Now, the mental health crisis since COVID, you may remember this, but they said depression more than tripled during COVID lockdowns, and mental health issues more than tripled, but sadly, so did suicide attempts. So they're evidently we're just a couple of years out of the COVID pandemic, and I think a lot of parents are seeing the results on their children, especially when we're finding out that Dr. Fauci, by a committee of one, being himself, issued the 6 foot warning. It had no scientific evidence, so children across the country and around the world were put in bubbles and put in these crazy distancing learning centers with walls and just hugging people through plastic. It was unreal, and that's got to be damning on the kids. They're developing their minds. As adults, you can look back and say, "Ha, that was bad," but as a child, they were thinking that's normal behavior, and now for it to be gone and we're supposed to be living normal. You remember the statement back in COVID, "Welcome to the new norm"? And we said, heck to the no. Many of us said, I'm not taking the shot, I'm not wearing the mask, and no, not doing it. Mighty interesting, by the way, Governor Hochul up in New York is looking at having a law that you cannot wear masks while protesting. Because kids now, because there was no flu, but they were wearing masks so they could hide their identity when they were protesting. And what the mayor of New York, Mayor Adams, and Governor Hochul, two Democrats now, shockaroo to me that they came up with a very intelligent discussion point that possibly, there may have been some non-student instigators wearing masks, pretending to be students that were stirring up the kids. Wow. Way to go, Captain Obvious. I think we all knew that was happening. If you remember, there was a study done, and they found 62% of those at the one college there in New York with their government phones. 62% were government phones. They did the little ping thing like they did for the January Sixers. Evidently, there's a program you can get and track the pings. 62% of those at one of those campuses were government phones, okay, either issued at the border or somehow through government services. Interesting. Well, 3:08 here. Got lots to talk about today. Got some different news topics for you. And one is Caitlin Clark. I like to follow that saga. Don't know if you guys caught it. On Father's Day, she lowered the boom again on Angel Reese. So Angel Reese, of course, lowered the boom with an intentional foul and has been fussing about it ever since. But all the people, even those that don't really like Caitlin Clark, has said, listen, that was a flagrant foul. But if you watch the replays, it's obvious that Caitlin Clark played the best game of her life since she's been in the pros. It was very well done. Her assist, her shooting, she's established herself. And right now, halfway through the season, she's broken about all the rookie records, including Taurasi's on several levels. And you remember it was Taurasi who said, it'll take her a while to get used to this level of game because we're grown women. Well, I think Caitlin Clark ate some Wheaties and came in as a grown woman herself. Not only obliterating all the college scoring records in college, she's doing a pretty dang good job as a rookie with everyone out there that's doing any of the negative trying to stop it and hold her back. But Caitlin Clark puts league on notice, okay, on the Sky Showdown. The Indiana Fever defeated Chicago Sky 91-83 on Sunday, June 16th. That was Father's Day, by the way, a statement win for the young team. It was their first back-to-back win of the season, and it was their second defeat of Angel Reese and her Atlanta team, which many feel that was pretty interesting since when Angel Reese was in college at LSU, she defeated Caitlin Clark for the national championship. I think she thought she was just going to bully Clark, but hasn't worked out that way in the pros. So interesting stuff. Well, I hope you guys had a good Father's Day. I sure did, and this is a picture of my father and me. Those watching my video, it's a tribute to my dad. Pastor salute to Macil Jr. I'm Macil III. And my grandfather I never got to meet of course, was Macil the first. My father is a retired FBI agent. He's been retired over 35 years. He'll tell you, well, over 30 years. He served 33 years. Got to get those numbers right. But he'll tell you it's not the FBI he signed up for. When my dad was recruited by the FBI, Hoover intentionally went into the South, Tennessee, where he's from, Alabama, Mississippi, and Arkansas, looking for young men with manners and that had high grades. My dad happened to be the valedictorian of his class, and even though from a poor family, he was invited to come up for training, and he worked his way through college and worked in the FBI photo lab at night and during the day, and went to college at night. Back in the day when you went to the FBI, you had to either have a lawyer's degree or an accounting degree. So Dad got his accounting degree and worked with a lot of financial records and such. They used to work real tight with the Treasury Department back in the day. But anyway, not only was he an FBI agent, my dad was my youth pastor, took us on multiple mission trips. My dad taught me how to read the Bible. He taught me how to pray. He taught me how to share my faith. And not only did he teach me, he actually led me by example. And so I just assumed everybody had a dad like mine that was a godly man. And so I am blessed to be taught how to be a man of God by my father. And so anyway, I just thought I'd put a picture up of old Pops there, and hope all of you guys had a good Father's Day. And if you haven't, make amends if you have any ills with father or son or daughter. And the other thing, if you have a father that has passed on, hey, keep the memory alive. It's great. Talk about them, share the good things that they did, and let people be remembered for the good things they did. And I think that's a good thing. A Christian author encourages dads to focus on a daily routine. This was CBN News. See what you think.
With Father's Day approaching, we now turn to raising families. Research shows children are more likely to thrive when their father is present in their lives. Author Justin Early says the question for many Christian dads is not just being there for their children, but how they do it. As CBN's Heather Sells reports, he emphasizes the importance of creating good habits.
If you're a young Christian parent struggling with discipline, I have a habit I want to share with you.
In raising their 4 boys, attorney Justin Early and his wife say the heart of parenting lies within that major area.
Our habits of the household are one of the most significant parts of our children's spiritual formation.
In his book, Habits of the Household, Early makes the case that parents' routines can either point their kids to God or turn them away. They include the daily rhythms of waking up and going to bed, meals, discipline, and conversation.
All of these things are just ways to look and see that the ordinary moments of our day with kids are some of the most extraordinary moments for their spiritual formation.
And I got to agree. So dads, enjoy the moments, man. You know, what little time you have, try to make the most of it. And try to come home. I know sometimes you come home in a bad mood or you're tired. But instead of just jumping in the chair and grabbing the remote, why don't you try listen to your child, let them tell you what they did for the day, get a hug, and be excited. Because I'll tell you what, I remember when my father would come home, it was some of the most joyous times getting to tell my dad what happened for the day. And so I just was blessed to have a good father, and still to this day, I get to go spend time with Macil number 2. I'm Macil number 3, and he's still my hero, and I am blessed. We're about to go to a commercial break, and I want to remind you of my book, Move Your Mountains, Learn the Journey of Faith. It's a book that helps you understand things about the Christian walk and the faith journey. You can get Macil Duncan's Move Your Mountains on Amazon, Books A Million, Barnes & Noble's, Thrifty Books, and wherever you get your online literature. Move Your Mountains by Macil Duncan. I'll be back after the break.
Hey, this is Greg Lane. I live
in on
Houston,
objects miles
Tennessee,
away.
And I just want to tell you how much I enjoy the Macil Duncan radio show. Man, I like to listen to it because he talks facts. I love the guy because he loves Jesus. And, it's where I go to find out information, what's going on in the world. But just awesome. Glad you guys have him on there. And just keep on keeping on. We love Macil Duncan. This is Greg Lane from Hickson, Tennessee.
It is time for Christians to roar, to make a difference in the community. That is the belief of Metro Tabernacle Church and Dr. Steve Ball. They have the School of Roar. The School of Roar is hosting a summer 2024 The Prophetic. Classes open to everyone and registration is free. Do you want to learn how to work more in the prophetic? Attend one of the class schedules. Registration deadline June 2nd. There will be a class Tuesday, June 18th at 6:30 p.m. and one again July 16th at 6:30 p.m. You can register at the website metrotab.net or myroar.org. That is myroar.org. It is time for the church to roar. 917society.com, led by Joni Bryan from Nashville, funds the National Education Order 108447 in 1959 that declared Constitution Day in public schools, and that's something we sorely need. More than 1 million kids last year got a free copy of the Constitution, and this year's goal is 2 million kids. Imagine that. The Constitution in the hands of 2 million American kids. On September 17th, all public schools are to distribute and educate students on the Constitution of the United States. If you'd like to help out, 917, that's 917society.com, led by Joni Bryan of Nashville, Tennessee. And remember, the goal this year, 2 million copies of the Constitution in kids' hands. And you can help. Again, the website, 917society.com. Jesus said, "You do it unto the least of these, and it's as if you were doing it unto me." There are many hungry people in our communities. The Appleton Food Bank feeds over 3,000 people every month, and they could use your prayers. In these troubling times, the number of clients they are serving is increasing. You can make a donation today. Go online to appisonbaptist.com. appisonbaptist.com. Food drives, prayers, financial donations, all help. They have rented 2 old grocery stores. They're open 7 days a week for donations, and they distribute every Monday and Friday. The motto at Appleton Baptist Church is taking Jesus as he is to people as they are. And you can get involved and help feed the hungry. Go to the website, appisonbaptist.com.
Hey, I'm Elizabeth, and a little thing I love about the Chick-fil-A Honey Pepper Pimento Chicken Sandwich is the collab of flavors, the sweet honey, the pickled jalapeno peppers, and the creamy pimento cheese. It is a perfect bite.
Hey y'all, this is Ronte, and a little thing I love about the Chick-fil-A Honey Pepper Pimento Chicken Sandwich is the richness of the pimento cheese. When I took a first bite, I was like, go, go, go cheese, go pimento, go honey, go chicken, go, go, go.
So many of you have heard that little plunking of the guitar commercial, Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A has been the Christian, many folks really love, because Chick-fil-A has been the heartbeat of so many of us, and but they come under a little bit of criticism here, and critics call Chick-fil-A a controversial summer camp, and are calling it child labor. Check this out from Fox Business.
Take a look at this headline. It's in the Wall Street Journal. Gen Z plumbers and construction workers are making blue collar cool. Perfect time to bring in Mike Rowe. He hosted Dirty Jobs. Mike, good morning to you. Is the blue collar stigma gone?
It's getting there. Let me show you something. I was just talking to your producer. This is me on Fox News 10 years ago. All right. We launched a campaign called Make Work Cool Again.
Yeah.
And that's how long it takes when you're turning the ship around. It takes a new generation to do some math. They got to look at the cost of college. They have to look at the real upside of learning a skill that's in demand, and then they have to pull the trigger. I didn't think Gen Z was going to be the generation to do it, but they are.
Good news. I'm going a little off kilter for this one. One Chick-fil-A location in Louisiana is hosting a summer camp for kids. It only costs $35 for the week. The children will learn things like customer service skills, how to take orders. Now, this is causing major controversy online. Some people are calling it child labor. Wait a minute. Mike, isn't it good to teach kids about work and interacting with people? Is there anything wrong with that?
What did we think was going to happen when we took home ec and shop and basic financial literacy out of the public schools? Sooner or later, somebody is going to step up and say, we have to inculcate these ideas into the next generation. If Chick-fil-A is going to be part of leading that charge, God bless them. You know, there's somebody has to step in to do this. Soft skills, basic common sense, all of that stuff is still for sale and sadly lacking.
Yeah, you're right. Here's another one. Do we have a trade worker shortage?
Yeah, we have for a long time. It's not just a skill gap, it's a will gap. And what's great about that article in the Journal is that it taps into the enthusiasm. It's not just a matter of, oh, I'm going to go over here and do this job. These kids are chronicling a day on the job. And it's not a day at Google. It's not a day with aromatherapy and sushi. And they're pulling out hot water heaters. They're joyfully installing new toilets. They're running electricity. They're chronicling the reality of their job, and they're making it cool. And they're not only getting well paid to do the work in question, they're crushing it on social media. They're actually making work cool again, and that's just a big, big, big part of what needs to happen.
Yeah, it's a wonderful thing. And
so you got to wonder is what's happening, and it could very well be. This is a Macil conspiracy, if you will. I wonder if the big colleges are concerned that the young might just turn away and say, you know, I don't know if I want to spend 4 years getting myself in debt because they're hearing now about the president relieving debt from all these supposed college kids, and people are arguing about it, saying, I don't want to pay off their debt with my tax dollars. It's been a big argument here the past several, probably 18 months, because he first tried to do it, Biden did. The Supreme Court said, you're wrong, you can't do that. So Biden says, oh, I'll just go around another way and defy the Supreme Court. If he'd been a Republican, he would have been roasted for this. So he's trying to win the young voter, bottom line. But the Gen Z are saying, you know, I don't know if I want to go that route. Maybe I want to be a hairdresser. Maybe I want to be a plumber. Maybe I want to be a bus driver or just, you know, in construction. You know, you can go be an electrical pole climber and make over 80 grand, almost 100 grand a year. And if you become a storm chaser, that's someone that goes to all the catastrophes, they pay you double salary. And I'm not making fun of that living. It's a very dangerous. But you can get trained within probably 2 years and be making money while you're being trained. Unlike going to college and working at a coffee shop or McDonald's and trying to get by and then graduate with a truckload of bills. I think this could be a big trend coming, and Chick-fil-A is modeling that trend. Now, in the Gateway Pundit, the Chick-fil-A Brilliant Kids Summer Camp initiative attacked by hateful critics threatening to report company to the government. Given the numerous issues affecting the country right now, one would think that people would have more constructive uses of their time than to attack a children's summer camp based on building their esteem and work knowledge. Chick-fil-A, the shockingly polarizing fast food chicken restaurant, has once again found itself in the crosshairs of bad faith actors who just want to pick a fight with Christ-forward franchises of eateries. And it's amazing how this happens. Maybe you guys remember there was a time when Ron Emanuel, who became the mayor of Chicago, he was Obama's press secretary. Do you remember that? And he decided to pick a fight with Chick-fil-A. Well, that's been well over 11, 12 years ago, right at. And Mike Huckabee declared Chick-fil-A Day. and people just came out of the woodwork supporting Chick-fil-A. I don't know if you remember that. So Huckabee was trying to get Chick-fil-A kicked out of Chicago. What happened? In Chicago, a very lip-blocking liberal city, people were wrapped around the building and around the nation supporting Chick-fil-A. And a lot of folks felt like Chick-fil-A is the Christian place to be, and so many folks were behind them. There was even a song. This is Tim Hawkins who wrote a song about Chick-fil-A.
Chick-fil-A, I could eat there 7 times a day, where the people laugh and children play. Oh, I'm in love with Chick-fil-A. Suddenly, I need waffle fries in front of me, with some nuggets and a large sweet tea. Oh, Chick-fil-A, you set me free. Kids, get in the van so we can go there today. But their stores are closed, oh I know, 'cause it's Sunday. Chick-fil-A. What a dirty, rotten trick to play. Now I have to settle for Subway. Oh, I'm in love with Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A.
Now that was Tim Hawkins. Tim Hawkins is the Christian comedian. You can go online, type in Tim Hawkins, and a plethora of funny videos will pop up. But the thing about Chick-fil-A is they, in recent years, because they were so popular, they're not open on Sundays. A lot of different groups have tried to penalize them. They were the only restaurants in the malls. You remember back when people went to the malls? They were closed on Sunday. And all the other restaurants, venues were open. Still, Chick-fil-A would outsell them, because Christians just packed Chick-fil-A. Well, Mike Huckabee, who once bailed them out and helped them 11 years ago, just a few years ago said he was very disappointed with Chick-fil-A. Here is Mike Huckabee on what he was disappointed about.
Of 2012, I was host of a weekend show on the Fox News channel. That was a great show, but frankly, not nearly as good as this show on TBN. One of my son, the then CEO, had made some simple references to his belief in biblical marriage. Now, the statements were not spoken against anyone, nor were they spoken harshly. It was just a simple affirmation of biblical marriage between man and the woman. But the militant advocates of same-sex marriage came after him personally, as well as the company, and they sought to destroy that business. Frankly, it was outrageous. So without any coordination or communication with Chick-fil-A, I organized what I call the Chick-fil-A Appreciation Day. It was set for August 8th of 2012. And it wasn't a protest. It just asked people to show appreciation for a business that followed its Christian convictions. The response stunned the nation, garnered national media attention, because millions of people flocked to Chick-fil-A outlets everywhere, even in California. Now, most of the restaurants ran out of food by late afternoon. It remains the largest day of sales for Chick-fil-A ever. Now, not long after, Dan Cathy, son of the founder, announced that he might reconsider giving to pro-family groups, even those groups that were falsely branded hate groups by the radical left and by pro-gay and lesbian groups. Many of us were shocked and disappointed, but we mostly just kept quiet. Well, this past week, the COO of the company told BizNow News that Chick-fil-A Foundation would no longer give funds to the Salvation Army, the Fellowship of Christian Athletes, or the very effective Christian drug rehab group, the Paul Anderson Youth Home. Instead, they would give to groups like Covenant House, which prominently prides itself on increasing support for the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, and questioning groups. Chick-fil-A is free to support whoever they choose. And if they believe supporting such groups and abandoning those who practice traditional Christian ministry, if they think that'll increase their sales and income, look, that's their prerogative. But I got to confess how utterly disappointed and frankly disgusted I am that a business founded by a profoundly Christian gentleman who loved and served everyone with kindness and dignity has somehow determined that it has more to gain by seeking to appease the people who have worked really hard to keep the Chick-fil-A stores out of major cities and airports. And those same people who were pushing against Chick-fil-A were thumbing their nose at the very people who stood up for the restaurant when those groups were attacking them for exercising their freedom.
Now, I'm a big fan of FCA, and I'm very disappointed that Chick-fil-A has withdrawn their funding for FCA, Fellowship of Christian Athletes. I was Red Bank's Fellowship of Christian Athlete of the Year and was awarded that for the city of Red Bank. I'm not saying to brag, but I was involved, and I, as a youth pastor, very involved. So to see Chick-fil-A turn and say they're not going to support these Christian organizations anymore, but then turn their money and support pro-homosexual transgender groups, it is rather discerning. So no longer is Chick-fil-A my first choice. When I would give out gift cards and cards, Chick-fil-A was always my first choice, but not anymore. I'm not saying I'll never eat at Chick-fil-A again, but I don't stay in line like I used to. I just don't. I used to want to stay in line and give them the extra business, but they've lost that touch, in my opinion. Still a good chicken sandwich. They've also recently announced they're no longer going to use the chickens without any hormone injections, etc. They're claiming that's no longer needed, so now they're accepting chickens now with the hormone shots, etc. So it's just not the Chick-fil-A I grew up with. I used to, by the way, my first job, I was a chicken slinger at Northgate Mall here in Chattanooga. My senior year, after football season and basketball was over, I went to work for Chick-fil-A that spring, and that was my first paid job, if you will. I'd mowed yards up till then and done some other side jobs, but that was my first job. And Chick-fil-A, like I said, the history and the founding, it was just quite amazing. But to see them capitulate, it's just very disappointing, especially after all the times Christians stood up for them then to stand away from Christianity as their main. I just don't know. I guess it goes back to how much is enough. You know, sometimes people are so enamored by wanting more. They more sales, more money. Because if I sell enough, I get a bigger boat. Well, you got a nice boat, yeah, but I want a bigger boat. Yeah, I want a nicer car. Well, you got a nice car, yeah, but I want this nicer car because Johnny next door has a nicer car. And if you're not careful, you find yourself in the world of greed, and I'm afraid that's really what has struck, and to me looks like Chick-fil-A has gotten into the greed game. It appears, but when they turned on and quit funding Fellowship of Christian Athletes, that's one of my pet projects. That really bothered me, but especially when you get Mike Huckabee, who did the biggest sale day 12 years ago, and then for him to do this retraction of support for FCA. That's pretty good because Mike Huckabee, I mean, he's a big-hearted guy. So that's where I am with Chick-fil-A. I don't know where you guys are. Lots to think about. But good job Chick-fil-A's trying to do this camp, and I hope that works out for them. Maybe they're trying to do a rebranding, a new imaging. Don't know.
The U.S. Surgeon General is calling on Congress to require tobacco-style warnings on social media platforms. In an op-ed released Monday in the New York Times, Dr. Vivek Murthy reiterated his stance that the mental health crisis among young people is an emergency and said social media is one of the biggest reasons why. Murthy said he wants the warnings to include language alerting users to the potential mental health impacts of the social media websites and apps. Last year, the Surgeon General's office issued an advisory about social media use and its potential mental health effect on teens, and called on social media companies to ensure minimum age requirements are enforced. Now he wants to take that further by adding these labels, which require congressional approval. In an interview on NBC's Today Show, Murthy noted the success of adding similar labels to tobacco products.
Now, a warning label would help parents to understand these risks. Many parents don't know that those risks exist. And we have data from tobacco warning labels that in fact tells us that they can be helpful in changing awareness and changing behavior. Keep in mind, when Congress authorized these labels for tobacco more than half a century ago, or nearly half a century ago, the smoking rate in America was above 40%. Today, it's under 12%.
Dr. Murthy also said social media companies should be required to share all their data on health effects with independent scientists and the public, and allow independent safety audits. For Straight Arrow News, I'm Lauren Taylor. If you want more important updates.
So, Surgeon General, I mentioned this earlier in the show, they're saying that the social media is a mental health crisis for the younger generation. I was watching Fox News this morning, and one of the doctors on there said parents should limit no more than 3 hours a day. If your child spends more than 3 hours a day on social media, then it's you're possibly going to allow your child to develop habits and have issues, etc. So something to keep in mind. Don't know where you're at on that, parents. Some parents just want to say, hey, babysit, give them a tablet or give them a phone. And you're thinking, wow, I get to have me time. I've never have liked that term. I'm going to be honest with you. Grown adults don't get me time when you're raising children, okay? Your time should be 100% about your family. Yes, you get to have some moments. You get to enjoy life. For instance, I love riding Harleys, but I didn't get my Harley until all my girls were out of high school. My first motorcycle, I waited. Two reasons. One, because I promised my wife I wouldn't get one till all the girls were out of high school. Now, she forgot we talked about that years ago. I just came home with a motorcycle, and she said, what in the world? I said, now, we talked about this about 12 years ago. She said, I didn't think you'd do it. I said, well, I kept my word. I waited till right out of high school, but now I've got my motorcycle. And now she's the one that said, why don't you go get one of those loud ones? I said, you mean a Harley? She said, yeah. So I traded that Suzuki Boulevard in for a Harley, and Judy's become my Harley mama. But with all that said, she loves to ride on the Harley. So if you'll just be mindful that you've got to do what you can for your kids. The me time thing, you can't be a selfish parent, and that may make some of you mad. Fine, but if all you're doing is handing your kid phones and tablets to keep them busy so you don't have to deal with them, that's not good parenting. That is not good parenting. I don't mind calling it like I see it. Well, got some other things going on here. Possible chemical agent released at the Baltimore Pride event. This was an El Shockaroo.
Several people were hurt during a Pride Parade event in Baltimore, Maryland over the weekend after a possible chemical agent was released and fireworks were set off in a crowd. Police say the possible chemical agent, possibly mace, hairspray, or something else, was not deployed by them. Authorities did say fire officials treated people at the scene and the event was shut down. They did not clarify how many people were hurt or if all the injuries were related to the possible chemical agent or a mass exodus when people began fleeing from the event. Police say at this time they do not believe this was a targeted attack.
So the Baltimore Pride event, there was some kind of chemical agent released, and they're still investigating. But I think that's what's going to start happening is paranoia, but also possibly people attacking those that have opposite values and views. Again, just look what's happening with Caitlin Clark, the basketball player. She's straight, she's white, she's a Christian, and therefore she is not welcomed by those that are atheist, lesbian, and have different views and different skin color. They seem to be very, very, and I'm not just saying this out of nowhere. You've got the Stephen A. Smiths, you've got Shaquille O'Neal, the Charles Barkley, a lot of men of color saying this. and they believe what's happening is tragic. But see, here's the problem. We have been raised with toxic values, meaning we don't accept others that don't agree with us. What's been happening, especially on the left, is they don't respect free speech and freedom of expression unless you match their speech and their expression. If you don't agree with them, they've been taught to blow whistles, make noises, and boo you off a stage. Savvy? Now, I don't know if you heard Jerry Seinfeld spoke at Duke University and talked about being privileged and owning it. And he said, listen, if you come from a good family, don't let them shame you. Enjoy it, embrace it, invest it to make a better life for you and for others. And I can agree with him. Don't make folks just because you had good family, good upbringing, that somehow you've been duped into something bad. But that's the far left. The far left wants to destroy the family as you and I would know it. They don't want the husband and wife to be known as the family model. They don't want children to raise up under the parent model, because the Bible is clear in the 5th commandment, honor your father and mother and you will have a long life. Well, they don't want kids having long lives. They want kids to be detrimented to their parents. They want them to have secrets from their parents, meeting with school counselors and administrators, changing their genders and their names, but don't tell your mom and dad. Now, I was a youth pastor back in the mid-90s at a church in Mississippi, and there was a teacher who was teaching the kids in the 4th and 5th grade how to read their horoscope, but don't tell your parents. For almost 3.5, 4 months, she had been teaching kids how to read their horoscopes and learning their signs. And right across from our church, now that's back when churches and schools had a real great relationship. We had a choir day once a week, and we'd have 300 kids come over to our church, and then we'd put on a big Christmas performance. The point being, eventually one of the kids broke and said, Mommy, I'm not supposed to tell you. And she said, tell me what? And so once you tell one mom, all the moms are told, PTA, principals called in. The teacher was reassigned, not really fired, but reassigned to another school. And you got to ask yourself, where did that teacher get the thought to teach something to children and tell them not to tell mommy or daddy? See, that's nothing new, really. That's something, and that comes from the teachers' union. The teacher union is a cancer to education. The teacher union is the inside of a zit. It's the pus that has to be squeezed out. I know that's a gross illustration, but they're a gross group of people. If I had presidential powers for a day, I would make all teachers unions be illegal, defund, and fold them. Because the teacher union pours into the young teachers' minds, who then pour into the young children's minds. Savvy? Have you noticed how so many teachers today are being arrested for sexual misconduct? Why? Because they're reading literature. There's actually more women than men now being arrested for sexual misconduct. And the reason they are is because they're reading, and most women tend to fantasize what they read about. Men fantasize on what they see. We're visual. Women are readers, and they process. We're made different, whether you want to admit that or not. So it's interesting to find that out. But also, when you're looking at that transgender mentality right now, I know no one wants to talk about it, but I will. A German study just came out. Vast majority of people will grow out of transgenderism within 5 years. That's what they're saying. A massive years-long study shows the overwhelming majority of young people who identify as transgender will grow out of the diagnosis within 5 years. Researchers who tracked all children and young adults diagnosed with gender dysphoria over a 9-year period found a similar supermajority of trans people suffered from at least one other psychological condition. The Central Institute of Statutory Mental Health Insurance in Germany reviewed all the medical billing records from the nation's health care providers for insured people between the ages of 5 and 24 diagnosed with gender identity disorders from 2013 to 2022. Researchers then combined through the data to identify trends in the number of children and adolescents diagnosed with transgenderism, including the prevalence demographics, the duration, and those struggling with the gender identity. Check this out. 2 out of 3 young people medically diagnosed with gender dysphoria will no longer identify as a member of the opposite sex within 5 years. Researchers found overall 63.6% of trans children and adolescents revert to their normal birth gender. With this kind of information out there, why are they rushing kids to have sex changes before puberty? Is it because they don't want them to change their mind? Is this some kind of new money grab? Shame on the medical community for doing this. Shame. I just cannot believe. Vanderbilt University was one of the first. I wouldn't go to Vanderbilt University to brush my teeth. But I'm telling you what, my friends. You can talk about it, or you can put your head in the sand like so many Christians. But someone needs to say what's right and what's wrong. And you got a lot of politicians, just putting their hand in the wind. Oh, it's near election time. I got to be careful who I pal with, because if he might take away votes from me. Oh, I'm going to be nice to him. He looks like he gets me votes, and then you don't hear from him for 4 more years. Do you have any convictions, my friend? Because I'll tell you one thing. One thing you can give for the lesbian and the transgender movement, they're more convicted and convinced what they believe, I think, than what most Christians are today. They'll fight for what they believe. Many of you won't. Many Christians will just, nope, going to do the rope-de-dope. Hopefully they'll just quit swinging and it'll all be over. But to hear this new study out of Germany, that within 5 years, most children, if they have some kind of transgender dysphoria, will revert back to their birth gender. I also wonder, because the new polls say Trump will win, they know Trump's he's going to stomp this out, my friend. This all came about at the end of the Obama administration, if you guys remember. For some reason, Obama's last 9 months, he pushed open bathrooms, transgenderism. It was on like Donkey Kong. He pushed it like you wouldn't believe. And I think Hillary was supposed to pick up the mantle. But Trump came in. And it all got suppressed back. Because Vanderbilt and these hospitals down in Texas and up in Maryland and over there, around the country in North Carolina, they didn't just all of a sudden just to have these units that have these sex changes for children. Those things were funded and in place. But when Donald Trump came in and made morality and patriotism and America great again mentality, and all that stuff had to be pushed to the back burner. It was not front and center, but Obama was leading it. Go back and remember what Obama was talking about. And that's one reason I think he wanted to get Merrick Garland on the Supreme Court to replace the conservative Justice Scalia, who suddenly died on a hunting trip with a pillow over his face with no autopsy. Savvy? So when you think of those things, and then you see Trump coming in a total different dichotomy, you understand why they hate him. Money was being missed on, my friends. And as soon as Biden comes in with the miraculous 81 million votes, of course, what gets ramped up? Transgenderism, homosexuality. He puts all these trans people in his office. Now, one was a klepto. He kept getting arrested at airports for stealing luggage. But to know that children, in 5 years, according to this study that the German study did from 2013 to 2023, a 10-year study, it's amazing. So I think it's something for us to consider. Something for us to pray about. In church, you better get on message. kids are going to start coming to your church if they're not already with this confusion, because here's the problem we have. We allow the public school to talk freely about sex and about their views of life. But we act like, well, we shouldn't talk about it. So we'll let them do all the talking. But then we get mad when they talk anti-biblically about the role of marriage, the role of men and women, and the function of sexual procreation. See, somewhere, and thank God for the mama bears, because dads, we tend to be pretty much, I don't want to get involved. I don't want to get involved. You know, Mark Robinson, the lieutenant governor of North Carolina, what got him into politics was he went to a community meeting, and he addressed his school board and said, what you're doing is not right. It went viral. Next thing you know, that dad that stood up became lieutenant governor, and he's running for governor of North Carolina, and many thinks he'll be the next governor of North Carolina. We'll see. It all started with a dad standing up at a school board meeting saying, Lane, that's enough is enough. I think they talked about taking away the Second Amendment rights. And he said, those of us that are, and you go dig up the clip. He said, you're trying to penalize good citizens, these laws. Bad people are going to get guns. And I've got to agree. Well, lots going on. When we come back at the 4 o'clock hour, I'm going to talk about the upcoming election a little bit. But before we get to that, got a few more things here on the docket I thought you guys might find interesting. We'll see. Chuck Schumer embarrassed himself. You may have heard this. Over the weekend, he posted a picture of him at a grill. And he was smiling, trying to look like he was doing a barbecue, if you will, grilling. The problem was the burgers on the grill were all raw, and he had a piece of cheese over one, and it just got this is the header. Senator Chuck Schumer managed to turn a simple Father's Day grill into a roast, not of the burgers, but of himself. The out-of-touch senator, in an attempt to celebrate Father's Day, shared a snapshot of himself placing cheese on a completely raw hamburger patty. And he said, our family has lived in apartment buildings for all of our years, but my daughter and her wife just bought a house with a backyard, and for the first time we have a barbecue with hot dogs and hamburgers on the grill. Father's Day heaven, the far-left senator wrote in a new and now deleted post. But someone saved it, and the picture, the hot dogs look done, but the burgers are raw. But anyway, Chucky Schumer, bless his little pea-picking heart, right? Don't know what you think. Morgan Freeman went on the record and says this about Black History Month. I don't know if you're aware. Morgan Freeman is a pretty strong, opinionated gentleman. He goes, I detest my history. I detest Black History Month. I'm an American, and I believe in American history. Way to go. Legendary actor Morgan Freeman is not a fan of Black History Month. In an interview with Variety, the Oscar-winning actor said that his history is tied to the story of American rather than the idea of being black. I detest it, the mere idea of it. You are going to give me the shortest month in a year, and you're going to celebrate my history? This whole idea makes my teeth itch. It's not right. My history is American history, he continued. It is the one thing in this world I am interested in beyond making money, having a good time, and getting enough sleep. How about that? Freeman made the comments ahead of the release of the series The Gray House, on which Freeman worked as an executive producer alongside with fellow star Kevin Costner. So I think that was probably one of the most listened to and profound men of color in the country. Nashville journalist Michael Patrick Lee faces jail time in Tennessee. I don't know if you heard about this. Over the trans shooter deranged journals. And will appear in court this morning. The chilling manifesto of Covenant School shooter Audrey Elizabeth Hale, a biological female who identified as a transgender male at the time of her horrific attack March 27, 2023, was leaked again on Friday. The Star News Digital Media Incorporated, which owns and operates the Star, and the publication editor-in-chief Michael Patrick Lee are currently plaintiffs in a lawsuit seeking to compel the Metro Nashville Police Department and the FBI to release Hale's writings, including those referred to as a manifesto. The Tennessee Star confirmed on Wednesday it has obtained nearly 4 dozen pages of Hale's writings from a source similar to the investigation. March 11, 2023 entry revealed her intense desire to possess a male organ. I'll leave it at that. Hale's diary entry began with the title, My Imagery and My What Have You, and includes a crude drawing. And evidently she went on to talk about wanting and to do things with animals and with stuffed animals, etc. So as you start hearing about this stuff, it's all cranking up right before the election. And I think the number 3 issues coming into this presidential election, I think everyone's going to agree, the border and economy. Those are the top 2. The Democrats are trying to bring up abortion, but I don't think it's going to stir the interest that they're thinking. But I think public education is going to be, it's one of those they're not talking about, but parents are concerned about what's being taught in school. The sexualization issues, as well as some of the other things that they're teaching kids. There is a concern, and that's why you're seeing a huge rise in homeschool and private schooling. And there's another thing when homeschoolers unite, and they call it co-opting. And they'll get a building like at a church, and all the moms or the dads or whoever's teaching will come together, and one may teach history, one may teach math, and they bring the kids together for a group experience so they have interaction. But the parents are in control of the literature, the language, and what's happening. That's becoming very popular right now in America. And I think you're going to continue to see public school going down. And as we mentioned earlier with the Chick-fil-A article, what's also on the rise is people looking at, instead of going to college, just getting a simple trade, learning through mentor internships, and becoming plumber, becoming a skilled carpenter, hairdresser, etc. Why go to school for 4 years and have debt you're going to have to pay off till you're 50 when you can get a nice trade, make a good living, and enjoy life younger and probably longer? Interesting. We'll see what happens with this. We're about to go to a break, and as we do, just one more news item here for the break. Your boss is watching you. Have you ever thought of that?
Is your boss spying on you? Since workers first shifted home at the start of the pandemic, company use of employee surveillance tech has exploded. And even though many employees have returned to office at least some of the time, companies are still keeping track and apparently cracking down on slackers. This week, we learned that Wells Fargo canned more than a dozen employees after it said they were simulating keyboard activity instead of working. The bank didn't reveal whether the workers were in office or at home. A wider company policy is to be in person 3 days a week. In the last 4 years, workers have become more resourceful when it comes to deceiving employers' attempts to monitor their activity.
Here are 5 easy ways to pretend you're busy at work or school.
Social media is filled with tips to get away with appearing busy, like mouse jigglers that move your cursor while you're gone, some selling as low as $10.
This is the USB mouse jiggler from Meat Auntie. So it comes in this nice small package here.
There are also keyboard clickers that simulate typing, hitting random buttons to fool your boss. But recently, all that clicking and jiggling is getting noticed. Wells Fargo isn't the only company blurring the lines between work and privacy. JP Morgan, Barclays, and United Health Group track everything from emails to keystrokes. Some companies even track eye movement and take screenshots. A recent study by the Harvard Business Review shows companies spy on employees at their own risk. The study says monitored workers are more likely to break rules and damage or steal workplace property. Researchers also say spying hurts a person's moral compass, leading to bad behavior. Instead, they suggest a work environment built on trust and autonomy over surveillance control. For more stories on surveillance.
So how about it, my friend? Anybody here guilty of trying to fool the boss with a jiggler or one of those other concepts to try to appear that you're working when you're not? That would be called cheating. I'll be back.
I think everybody remembers when Diana Taurasi was on with Sue Bird watching one of the games and made the comment about Caitlin Clark's learning curve and all this other stuff. Well, I think Diana Taurasi is going to be shocked to learn that Caitlin Clark has done something in her rookie year that Diana Taurasi did. So I guess the learning curve wasn't too drastic so far for Caitlin Clark in her rookie season. For this video, we head to Indiana. And this was the original post. Caitlin Clark will face a learning curve when she enters the NBA. It won't be easy, which is true. It definitely won't be easy, but who suspects it to? But in a recent article, it stated that Clark has tied Taurasi for most 25-5 games as a rookie, achieving the feat 5 times this season. Per ESPNW on X, the rookie has 25 games to catch Fever legend Tamika Catchings for the record, which is 7 games. So she's 2 games away from getting 20 points, 5 assists, 5 rebounds for the 7th time this season. She's already done it 5, and that tied the great Diana Taurasi, who also said it would be a major learning curve, in so many words, that Caitlin Clark most likely will struggle a lot during the season. And really, other than a couple of games where Chrissy Side seems like she has no idea what's going on, Caitlin Clark has been lights out. She's been real good playing her type of game. Once she gets the teammates that really understands her game even more and knows how to play alongside of her, she's going to be even more of a threat out there on the court. But to say she's 2 games away from holding the rookie WNBA record by Tamika Catchings, 20 points, 5 assists, and 5 rebounds 7 times during the season, it's crazy. Most likely she breaks that with X amount of games left. 3 more games of getting there. I just think she will.
General says the threat social media poses to children requires urgent action. Now, Dr. Vivek Murthy is demanding Congress put a label on apps similar to warning labels on cigarettes and alcohol. Dr. Murthy pointed to studies that reveal the impact social media has on depression. He spoke with today's Savannah Guthrie, who asked if social media platforms can do more to deter young people from becoming addicted to these apps.
What has happened over the last nearly 2 decades that social media has been around is truly unconscionable when it comes to the health of our kids. We have allowed these platforms to exist, to evolve, to proliferate, to really occupy so much space in our children's lives. And our kids themselves are telling us about the mental health impact. You know, I've just finished a college tour where I spent time with young people all around our country, and they brought up social media in every engagement we had, talking about how it makes them feel worse about their body image, how it makes them feel worse about their lives as they're constantly comparing themselves to others. But here's the thing, Savannah, many of them say that they can't get off it because the platforms are often designed to maximize how much time our kids are spending on them, and despite the fact that many of them are experiencing harm. That has to change. It's why last year I called on Congress to put in place safety standards like we did for cars and other products to make social media safer. It is not okay for us to put the entire burden of managing this on parents.
And Dr. Murthy says when Congress authorized warning labels for tobacco nearly half a century ago, the smoking rate in America was above 40%. Today, it's under 12%. He says labels were a big part of that and can also help manage social media platforms as well.
Well, I'm back. This is Macil Duncan with the Macil Duncan Radio Show. And as I told you, this next hour, we're going to talk a little bit about the upcoming election. You may have seen, but at all the polls right now do have, if the election were today, Donald Trump with an advantage. He's leading in the swing states. and he was even tied in Virginia, but some polls have him now up by 1.5 percentage points. We'll see what that means. But there's going to be a lot happening. But the upcoming debate, I think, will be something that a lot of folks are going to pay attention to. And here's CNN announcing the new rules for the first 2024 debate. See if you think they're fair and reasonable.
The first presidential debate of 2024 is less than 2 weeks away now, and its host, CNN, is announcing its rules. The 90-minute debate, which is set for next Thursday, June 27th at 9 p.m., will have 2 commercial breaks, and campaign staff will not be allowed to interact with their candidates. CNN says both President Biden and former President Trump have agreed to appear at a uniform podium with their positions determined by a coin flip. Unlike previous debates, there will not be a live studio audience for this one. Also new this year, no opening statements. And each candidate will have 2 minutes to answer questions, then 1 minute for rebuttals and responses to the rebuttals. If it is not a candidate's turn to speak, his microphone will be muted. They also won't be allowed to bring props or pre-written notes. The debate, which is one of 2 agreed upon by the president and former president, will be moderated by CNN anchors Jake Tapper and Dana Bash. Biden and Trump are also set to debate on ABC in September. By coming up with their own debate schedule, the 2024 presidential candidates have sidelined the Nonpartisan Commission on Presidential Debates, which has long worked to provide neutral rules and make sure debates are broadcast on all major networks. We also want to note former Democratic candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. could still qualify for the debate in 2 weeks. His name would have to appear on enough state ballots to reach the 270 electoral vote threshold to actually win the presidency and get at least 15% in 4 national polls. So far, he's at least 15% on 3 qualifying polls and is on the ballot in 6 states, making him eligible for 89 electoral votes. For all the latest updates.
So that's the upcoming debate. And I don't know if you caught the no's. There's no opening statement. There's no audience. Those are definitely favoring Biden. He doesn't have to make an opening statement, and he doesn't have to worry about applause or the audience distracting him. I think also being at CNN, that's another Biden luxury, because that's nothing but a liberal bastion of favoritism. But Donald Trump did say anytime, anywhere he would debate him, so he's having to remain true to that. But a pastor goes viral after thanking Trump for coming to the hood, and he said that's something Obama and Biden have never done.
President Trump, I'm so humbled that you would be here. President Obama never came to the hood, so to speak, right? That you would be here. President Obama never came to the hood, so to speak, right? President Joe Biden, he went to the big NAACP dinner, but he never came to the hood. So thank you.
So that is the soundbite that went viral over the weekend. A Detroit pastor thanking Donald Trump for visiting an area that most candidates and politicians usually ignore. The former president visiting a historically black church over the weekend, courting a group of voters who rarely ever vote Republican. Pastor Lorenzo Sewell, also known as Pastor Zoe, is the senior pastor of 180 Church, and he's with us now. And that was you in that clip, Pastor. It sounded very sincere. It felt like you really meant it from the heart. But you're getting a lot of flack from the left here for saying that you were humbled by President Trump's presence there at your church. So explain to the critics out there, Pastor, why you hosted him. And at the end of it, was it a good idea?
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so Holy Ghost happy to be here today. Anytime you can come to an area like 48227, an area where many of our young people, they are removed out of homes because their families have mental illness. An area where women are still being openly human trafficked. An area where people know more about fentanyl and crack than they do Christ. Anytime a politician is willing to come to our community, they're welcome. Anytime someone can come to the church, they're welcome. For those that would be mad and upset, the reason why they're mad and upset because they don't walk down Grand River. They don't understand the pain of the people in our community. They don't understand what it means to live and have to make a decision between putting gas in your car or paying your rent or paying daycare. They don't understand that. And I understand that tensions are high and motives get questioned. I forgive all those that question my motive, but I would challenge them to come to 48227.
I think a lot of people forget, that in some of these zip codes, like you're mentioning, high violent crime, a lot of these folks don't get to leave their zip code. They never leave their zip code. They don't even go across town. So to see a former president come in does mean a lot. Can I ask you about the numbers here, the polling? So Biden carried Michigan in 2020 by just 3 points. Today, though, he's up by almost 40 points, if we can put this poll up. Despite not coming to the hood, he's up by 40 points, Pastor. And inflation is the #1 issue for Black Americans. So can the numbers change in Michigan, in your zip code, here in the next 4 months?
Well, the president coming to 48227, he did something that Republicans, quite frankly, don't do. They won't come to places like Detroit, Pontiac, Flint, and Saginaw. Those are the communities that we serve, the least of these, the disenfranchised and the marginalized. And not only did he come, but he listened. I believe that he has put himself in a sweet spot as it pertains to listening. You got to remember that Detroit has a history of segregation. Michigan, in terms of demographics, Brighton, Michigan has the most white people per capita, where you have Detroit has the most Black people per capita. So when Blacks and whites are together in the same room, specifically with older white men, it sometimes gets a little socially awkward. And President Trump, he was not socially awkward. Byron, he was amazing, a senator from Florida, to be able to engage people in a mindset that says we're really here authentically. We're not just asking for your vote. We actually want to hear your voice.
Now that, my friends, is amazing. Donald Trump goes down to what they call the hood, if you will, there in Detroit. And they're saying they felt genuine. They felt it was for real. And this pastor said he has no regrets inviting him. And he said Obama and Biden never came here. And the interesting thing is they were showing all the different polling there. You got Jill Stein. You got all these folks in the mix. And so that's really playing to Trump's advantage. Kennedy's helping Trump out more than anything. So it's going to be interesting, and you've got all these song parodies, but here's one about Trump that's interesting, Make America Great Again.
All I ever wanted for the USA was a good economy for your family. Protect the southern border, make a place that's safe for your kids to go outside and play. Look at San Francisco, take a look at LA. Look at New York City, man, it just ain't the same. We all know the radical left is to blame for weaponizing your religion and race.
It's called Donald Trump, Make America Great Again. It's kind of a rap song, if you will. And a lot of folks are interested in this. Now, this is a video called Going Through Hell. This is Donald Trump explaining pretty much his values, and these are reasons why he's leading in all the polls.
In my short time in Washington, I've seen firsthand how the system is broken. A small group of failed voices who think they know everything and understand everyone want to tell everybody else how to live and what to do and how to think. But you aren't going to let other people tell you what you believe, especially when you know that you're right. You must go forth into the world and turn your hopes and dreams into action. America has always been the land of dreams because America is a nation of true believers. When the Pilgrims landed At Plymouth, they prayed. When the founders wrote the Declaration of Independence, they invoked our Creator 4 times. Because in America, we don't worship government, we worship God. Remember this, nothing worth doing ever, ever, ever came easy. Following your convictions means you must be willing to face criticism from those who lack the same courage to do what is right, and they know what is right, but they don't have the courage to take it and to do it. The more people tell you it's not possible, that it can't be done, the more you should be absolutely determined to prove them wrong. Treat the word impossible as nothing more than motivation. Relish the opportunity to be an outsider. Embrace that label. Being an outsider is fine. Embrace the label. Because it's the outsiders who change the world and who make a real and lasting difference. I've seen so many brilliant people. They gave up in life. They were totally brilliant. They were top of their class. They were the best students. They were the best of everything. They gave up. I've seen others who really didn't have that talent or that ability, and they're among the most successful people today in the world because they never quit and they never gave up.
Now, some people may say, why would you play that? I think it was important to hear that he was trying he brings up faith all the time. Now, being a pastor, I have just not seen a politician or anyone running for office that embraces the church like he tries to embrace. I'm not saying I'm not voting for a pastor, okay? I'm not voting for a Sunday school teacher or a deacon. I'm voting for a president. And right now, if you're telling me between him and Joe Biden, and I'm amazed at some of the Christians that say, well, I just think Donald Trump has got a past of debauchery. Oh, really? And you don't think Biden does? If that's your reason for not voting for Trump, and you're going to vote for Biden, that's an excuse. You're just staying along party lines. I encourage you, try not to be a Democrat or Republican. Just be a freaking American. Now, there are people that like to mimic Donald Trump. Here's a guy, he calls himself the outlaw, and see what you think. I think he's got Donald Trump pretty pegged. He's an impersonator. See what you think.
This town ain't big enough for the two of us, Crooked Joe. It's a tiny town. It's smaller than AOC's brain. She has a very low IQ, and we're taking our town back. Thanks to Fat Thunder Thighs, Twinkies enthusiast Alvin Bragg, I am now an outlaw. The greatest outlaw the world has ever seen. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. Nobody thought it was possible. The fake news is saying Donald Trump is now a modern-day Bonnie and Clyde. I call it Donnie and Clyde. Everything these people try doesn't work. It makes us stronger. They tried Russia. They tried the mugshot. I call it the Mona Lisa of mugshots. Nobody's ever seen a better mugshot before. It's incredible. And now they've turned me into an outlaw. We are going to go into the White House. We are going to look at Crooked Joe and say, you're fired. We're going to drag him out kicking and screaming. His diaper's going to be so full. Fake Dr. Jill doesn't know what the hell to do about it. And we are going to take back our country. 2024 is the year of the outlaw and the year of the outlaw president. Believe me.
Trump the Don, back at it again. This time in a country rap song. Shout out High Res. God bless the USA. Stop sending billions to Ukraine. Put America first for a change. When they fail, I'm the one that they blame. I only ran for president cause I had one thing on my mind.
to make the country better than it's ever been, but you got Biden's lies. And if you love the country, then we're on the same side. I got love for America, I got American pride. They tried to kick me out the White House. Next year, that's my house. FAFO, around and find out. Trump 2024, all the communists, they will cry now. No more fake news selling lies now. CNN stands for the Clinton News Network. I'm the only president to leave with a lower net worth. Biden took office, oh boy, did it get worse. I guess that means that I was better than my successor. I only ran for president cause I had one thing on my mind, to make the country better than it's ever been, but you got Biden's lies. And if you love the country, then we're on the same side. I got love for America, I got American pride.
How much longer is the world going to need oil? The answer depends on who you ask. Some say global demand is just a few years away from declining. Others believe the world will still be investing in fossil fuels for decades to come. The International Energy Agency forecasts the planet's need for oil will hit its peak by 2029, after which it will begin to drop as the renewable energy transition gradually takes over. But OPEC predicts oil demand will actually grow by 25 million barrels a day through 2045. The group of oil-producing countries that influence global supply and prices are warning to keep expectations in check. OPEC says believing the hype about peaking demand could lead to power shortages and unprecedented volatility in the energy sector. The IEA disagrees. Rather than predicting an oil deficit, they instead caution a massive surplus is on the way. Their data indicates after oil demand hits its impending peak, supply will almost immediately start exceeding what is needed. The IEA expects total oil production capacity to hit nearly 114 million barrels per day by 2030, 8 million barrels per day higher than projected global demand. This could cause oil prices to fall as low as $60 per barrel, which would be the farthest drop seen by the industry since the pandemic. To learn more about...
So we got Donald Trump, who said the first thing he would do if he was elected is drill, baby, drill. And what we've got Biden doing is spill, baby, spill. He's spilling all of our oil reserves out to where we'll have none. Joe Biden to deplete oil reserves to artificially lower gas prices months before the election. Joe Biden will deplete the U.S. oil reserves to artificially lower gas prices months before the presidential election. When Biden was installed in 2021, nationwide average gas was $2.39 per gallon. Today it's $3.44, and in some places over $4 a gallon. The Washington Examiner report President Joe Biden is prepared to release more oil from the country's strategic reserves if gas prices increase during the summer. This is the latest plan by the Biden administration to counter high prices at the pumps and the more expensive prices on various goods due to inflation. The Biden administration energy advisor suggests gas prices are still too high for many in the country and said he favors taking action to cut them down to be a little bit lower. We will do everything we can to make sure the market is supplied well enough to ensure as low a price as possible for American consumers. So this is interesting that he is saying this, but a lot of folks are concerned because Saudi Arabia is saying they're pulling out of the petrodollar agreement. We've talked about this before on the show, but when Richard Nixon was president, and I think it was 1972, he opened trade with China. He dropped the legalities so Big Pharma could advertise. It used to be illegal for pharma to advertise on television and radio, but now that's all you hear. But the other was he took us off the gold standard. Now Russia and China are backing their currencies with gold again, and they're not using the American petrodollar. Why is it called the petrodollar? It's because they're using petroleum to back it. And in 1972, Saudi Arabia signed a deal with Nixon and Kissinger to bring OPEC, if you will, to the center stage, and that we would use petroleum to back the dollar. And so what you're seeing now with Biden, by depleting our strategic oil reserves, I don't know if you understand, my friend, but when Donald Trump was president, in 2018, I've said this before, but the first time in 75 years, we were energy independent. We were number one in petroleum, clean coal, and natural gas. Okay? The other thing he did was he completely filled all the strategic oil reserves, meaning if we had a war, catastrophe, or some kind of trouble, we had plenty of oil that we could service American needs. The first thing Biden did when he was in office was he cut off the Alaskan pipeline that Donald Trump opened. That was bringing oil from Alaska through a pipeline to the rest of the states. And then he opened the one from Germany to Russia, which gave Russia a lot of money. And Russia went to war with Ukraine, savvy? The other thing you remember Biden did, he released the frozen assets of Iran, and Iran then goes to war with Israel, savvy? Through Hamas. So what you're seeing here is a difference of leadership. Donald Trump wants to drill, baby, drill, and keep America number one in energy production, and he wants to keep our strategic oil reserves filled. Joe Biden has just gone on the record saying he will deplete the rest of our oil reserves. And you're saying deplete? What do you mean the rest? In his first year and a half of office, he sold almost half of our oil reserve that Trump built up to China. Yes, to China, to an energy company that his son Hunter worked for. Please, try to prove me wrong. I love it when a liberal tries to prove me wrong and you get converted to common sense. So here's the deal. Right now, we've got 4 months to election. If Biden is successful, knowing that Donald Trump is ahead, but what if he depletes all of our oil reserve and continues to give it away? When Donald Trump takes office, he's not only going to have an energy crisis, border crisis, economy. He's going to have a lot to deal with, not to mention all these executive orders. If you remember when Donald Trump became president in 2017, he said, for every executive order I sign, I will unsign 5 of these stupid ones that keep us from drilling oil on American soil and etc. And so what he's probably going to have to go back and do is go back and take away the Biden restrictions and handcuffs, reopen the Alaska pipeline, and he can't do anything, I guess, about the German pipeline to Russia. Supposedly it was bombed, but that was never truly confirmed in my opinion. But all I can say is I thought it was very interesting. He cut off our oil from Alaska and he opened up Germany's oil to Russia. That right there to me shows his desires are global. Donald Trump is make America great again. He's a nationalist. He wants to see America strong. He says you lead and lead through strength. If our military, our economy, and our energy is strong, we then can help lead the rest of the world. But when we worry about leading the world first, then America, we leave our defenses weakened, our energy depleted, and we are open for all kinds of harm. And that's what some probably want. They would love to see this country go down and not be the strong country it has been. So it's going to be an interesting thing as you and I watch this. But the Saudi Arabia group is now, they've joined BRICS. And I've shared this before, but in case you're new, BRICS is Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. Now they've got Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and 14 other countries. what BRICS is, it's a competition to NATO and the G7. And so what you're going to see is Saudi Arabia, who was backing our original petrodollar in 1972, by reneging on that agreement and joining BRICS, and now going to gold-backed currency with the China and the Russian, the ruble and the yen. I understand. We're going to be hurting because as Biden depletes our strategic oil reserve, what is backing our dollar? If it's not backed by gold, it's supposed to be backed by petroleum, and Saudi Arabia is gone, and our strategic oil reserve is gone. They're going to try to crash the dollar. Savvy? Are you waking up, my friends? Some of you better be careful who you vote for. That's all I'll say. I'll be back after the break.
Hey, I'm from Texas, and I love listening to your show because y'all tell truth on there. You don't water it down, and I know what I listen to is real. And so, yes, just want to say that I'm glad that you're doing the show, and I'm friends with Jolene, and I do love America. I really do. Keep going gung-ho, guys, with the show. We got your back.
Let us not forget those who have gone before us, those who have spoken into our lives, those who have mentored us, those who have loved us, and those who have spoken great words when we needed to hear them. Well, the words aren't being spoken now, but they were in the past, and they have made an impression on our lives. We should remember those who have gone before us. That is one of the founding principles of myforevermemories.com. Website, myforevermemories.com. Join us in remembering those, and we have ways to do that. We support WVMG Radio, Destiny Life Radio, and the outreach of this radio station. And let us not forget those who have gone before us. There are so many ways to remember them. Join us in remembering them at myforevermemories.com. It is time for the Church of Jesus Christ to roar. That is one of the core principles of Metro Tabernacle Church in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Their mission is to restore the roar in the body of Christ by establishing a foundation of faith in the Word of God through the power and demonstration of His Holy Spirit. They will reclaim the original intent of God for the church through training, equipping, releasing believers, and raising up leaders who will carry the roar of the Lion of the tribe of Judah to build strong local churches. And we all need that. You can find out more information by going to their website, myroar.org. Metro Tabernacle Church is located at 2101 West Shepherd Road, at the airport exit off of Highway 153 in Chattanooga. Let's roar. It is time for Christians to roar, to make a difference in the community. That is the belief of Metro Tabernacle Church and Dr. Steve Ball. They have the School of Roar. The School of Roar is hosting a summer 2024 The Prophetic. Classes open to everyone, and registration is free. Do you want to learn how to work more in the prophetic? Attend one of the class schedules. Registration deadline June 2nd. There will be a class Tuesday, June 18th at 6:30 p.m. and one again July 16th at 6:30 p.m. You can register at the website metrotab.net or myroar.org. That is myroar.org. It is time for the church to roar.
Welcome back, my friends, and this is Macil Duncan, and this is the Macil Duncan Radio Show, broadcast live from Chattanooga, Tennessee. We're also on Street Level America and USHeartbeat.com radio. We're in 32 states, Mexico, and Canada. We've had 26 nations download the show and send correspondence back. And so we appreciate those that like and share the show. We're also on Macil Duncan Radio on RumbleXLocals.com. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and other social media sites. So thank you so much for liking and sharing the show. Speaker Mike Johnson just spoke 50 minutes ago, and here's a little about what he had to say.
President Trump has talked a lot about his frustration with the convictions facing him and legal challenges. Does he feel that you are doing enough as House Republicans to fight against that? And in particular, the Russell Fry bill, did he mention that? Can you commit now to moving that forward after the presidency?
Yeah, we're working on the Russell Fry bill. I think it's a good idea, and that basically is a simple concept. It's that if a president or vice president is challenged in court, in a state court, they would have the right to remove it to a federal court. That's a very common sense notion. It's something that's already in practice for federal judges and members of Congress. It should apply to the executive branch as well, and I think it shouldn't even be a controversial notion. He didn't bring up that specific piece of legislation. He did talk about his concern about the lawfare that's been waged against him, and we all know it. And I made the point in my introduction of him that it's backfired fantastically on the Democrat Party and the activists who are trying to use our judicial system to exact political vendettas against the primary opponent that they have for the control of the country. And what we've seen is outrageous, and we've also seen the polling and the fundraising and everything else go in the direction of the target. President Trump has set fundraising records. He raised $53 million in the first 24 hours after the verdict in that terrible, bogus trial in Manhattan. And I think that shows that people understand what's happening here. We also set fundraising records, and we've continued to. He's announced he's raised over $400 million since the verdict came down, and there's much more to come. And you know why? Because people see that that is a threat to our republic. They see that that's a threat to our system of justice, and they want to push back. And so in many ways, President Trump has become a symbol of that, pushing back against corruption, the deep state, the weaponization of the judicial system, and that's a very encouraging development. So I think that he made the point every time they indicted him, his polls went up. That's right, because people see exactly what's happening here, and we have to fix it, and we will.
So I don't know what you think, and whether you like Donald Trump or not, but something that's trending online right now is, where is Hunter Biden's picture from being in prison, an arrest profile picture, if you will. You know, Donald Trump's was released within seconds of it being taken. Hunter Biden was arrested. How come his mugshot, if you will, has not been posted? Again, media biased. I think CNN, NBC, MSNBC especially, all those bastions of lip-lock liberalism, they're learning because you see them starting to coalesce to Christianity topics and narratives. Look at Bill Maher, Chris Cuomo, people that never would have talked kindly or friendly about Trump or Christians have been massaging those people because they want us to listen to them. They want clicks. They want attention. That's what this is all about. So I think it's interesting, and I like what Mike Johnson said, and he brought to light. If you are a congressman or a senator or a federal judge, and you are brought to a state trial, you can have it opted to have it brought to federal. Okay, federal courts are usually speedier, and it's just got some better opportunities, I guess, for them. And so, why does a president not have that same thing? Because if you're going to look at Congress, Senate, and the judges, the president is another part of the government. He should have that opportunity if he thinks that's in his favor, or she one day. The first female president could come in our lifetime. Would not be shockarooed about that. I think there's a lot of ladies coming up on the horizon, and if Trump picks a female vice president, I would garner to say in 2028 we might have the first. But the Surgeon General is giving out a warning.
The U.S. Surgeon General says the threat social media poses to children requires urgent action. Now, Dr. Vivek Murthy is demanding Congress put a label on apps similar to warning labels on cigarettes and alcohol. Dr. Murthy pointed to studies that reveal the impact social media has on depression. He spoke with today's Savannah Guthrie, who asked if social media platforms can do more to deter young people from becoming addicted to these apps.
What has happened over the last nearly 2 decades that social media has been around is truly unconscionable when it comes to the health of our kids. We have allowed these platforms to exist, to evolve, to proliferate, to really occupy so much space in our children's lives. And our kids themselves are telling us about the mental health impact. You know, I've just finished a college tour where I spent time with young people all around our country, and they brought up social media in every engagement we had, talking about how it makes them feel worse about their body image, how it makes them feel worse about their lives as they're constantly comparing themselves to others. But here's the thing, Savannah, many of them say that they can't get off it because the platforms are often designed to maximize how much time our kids are spending on them, and despite the fact that many of them are experiencing harm. That has to change. It's why last year I called on Congress to put in place safety standards like we did for cars and other products to make social media safer. It is not okay for us to put the entire burden of managing this on parents.
And Dr. Murthy says when Congress authorized warning labels for tobacco nearly half a century ago, the smoking rate in America was above 40%. Today, it's under 12%. He says labels were a big part of that and can also help manage social media platforms as well.
So that's interesting that the Surgeon General has issued a warning for mental health purposes that too much social media, I guess, can drive you cray-cray. So something to keep in mind, even for you adults maybe. Holy cow! Holy cow! I've never seen anything like this. I'm like speechless. Who said that, you might ask? Well, that was a CNN data reporter shocked. What would a CNN reporter be shocked at? Well, most likely when you're lip-locked liberal and you live in liberal land and something conservative comes upon you that you were not expecting, that's called what the Patriot Pastor calls El Shockaroober. And that's what happened. CNN data reporter shocked at Trump's level of support with black voters. That's right. CNN data reporter was left stunned as he revealed President Trump's level of support with black voters, especially the younger ones. As the Daily Caller reported, CNN data reporter Harry Enton appeared with reporter John Brennan Monday morning to discuss the state of the 2024 presidential race. When the topic turned to how candidates fared among black voters, the one guy said stunning news to share with CNN viewers. According to polling shared, Trump is on his way to a historic overperformance with blacks, winning over 20% of these voters when Republicans on average are less than 10%. 8 to 9% of black votes for Republicans is considered good. Donald Trump is over 20, and some feel he's in the 30 percentile range of black vote approval. More significance is there is no sign of sudden surge reverting to historic norms anytime soon. And so when Donald Trump makes trips like he did to what some call the hood, this pastor went viral by thanking Donald Trump for coming to the hood.
President Trump, I'm so humbled that you would be here. President Obama never came to the hood, so to speak, right? President Joe Biden, he went to the big NAACP dinner, but he never came to the hood. So thank you.
That was in Detroit, and this young pastor went on to be interviewed. I'll play it again in the 5 o'clock hour. But this pastor was thanking Donald Trump for coming down to his church. It's a very large church in what they call the hood there in Detroit. He said Obama and Biden never came, but Donald Trump did. And he's caught some heat from the left. Imagine that. And he said, listen, I already forgive those that have been unkind, which I thought was a great answer. And he said he has no regrets. He goes, anyone that would come to our zip code, and he gave the zip code, are welcome. So I guess I would not be surprised if Biden doesn't make an appearance. Just like when Donald Trump announced he was going to the border, and it was announced for several weeks, all of a sudden Joe Biden decides to go to the border. Now Donald Trump went down where the crossings were. Biden stayed up in a very safe area where nothing was happening. But the bottom line is I think you're seeing a surge, and it seems to be in Donald Trump's direction at the moment. And since the conviction in the mock show trials, no one is buying any of that, and Donald Trump's raising more money, over $400,000 since the crazy New York verdict, and it's quite amazing. Well, I'll be back after this break. This is Macil Duncan on the on the Destiny Media Life Network, as well as USA, Heartbeat Radio, and Street Level America.
Hi, this is Renee for the Republic. StarSpangled.com, a mission to awaken souls and help save America, headquartered in the South. I recommend the Macil Duncan radio show because, as a former news journalist, I know how important it is to find credible sources in today's world gone mad. Join Macil Duncan on his show and me on social media such as Facebook at Star Spangled Chick to find out why loving and protecting America has never been more vital in the history of the USA.
917society.com, led by Joni Bryan from Nashville, funds the National Education Order 108447 in 1959 that declared Constitution Day in public schools, and that's something we sorely need. More than 1 million kids last year got a free copy of the Constitution, and this year's goal is 2 million kids. Imagine that. The Constitution in the hands of 2 million American kids. On September 17th, all public schools are to distribute and educate students on the Constitution of the United States. If you'd like to help out, 917, that's 917society.com, led by Joni Bryan of Nashville, Tennessee. And remember, the goal this year, 2 million copies of the Constitution in kids' hands. And you can help. Again, the website, 917society.com. Jesus said, "You do it unto the least of these, and it's as if you were doing it unto me." There are many hungry people in our communities. The Appleton Food Bank feeds over 3,000 people every month, and they could use your prayers. In these troubling times, the number of clients they are serving is increasing. You can make a donation today. Go online to AppletonBaptist.com. AppletonBaptist.com. Food drives, prayers, financial donations, all help. They have rented 2 old grocery stores. They're open 7 days a week for donations, and they distribute every Monday and Friday. The motto at Appleton Baptist Church is taking Jesus as he is to people as they are. And you can get involved and help feed the hungry. Go to the website, AppletonBaptist.com. You know, there is someone hungry in your world tonight. So as you're seated tonight at your dinner table, enjoying the mashed potato and steak off the barbecue grill, remember that there are many people in our communities, in our world, that are not as fortunate as you are. So please consider donating your time, funds, and food to your local food bank or food pantry. And as you enjoy the barbecue tonight, please remember them. Check on the widows, elderly, and the orphans as well. You can donate in the Appleton, Tennessee area to Appleton Baptist Church. They have a food pantry there that would love your support. And there are many food pantries all over America. We need to feed this nation in more ways than one, but one way that we can literally feed them is with food. Get involved and make a difference.
Well, this article just dropped. Pro-life can be a winning issue for Republicans, and it should be. This just dropped by Gordon Howie. This is interesting. Republicans have long fought to overturn Roe v. Wade, a goal pursued for decades. When the Supreme Court finally overturned it, many Republicans did not know what to do next, like the proverbial dog that caught the bus. Instead of claiming victory, some Republicans became scared, and mainstream media quickly seized on this uncertainty, pushing the narrative that abortion is a losing issue for the GOP. However, in South Dakota, we take a different attitude. As long-time politician have served 3 terms in South Dakota legislature, 2 terms as a representative and 1 term as a senator. I believe we should be proud of our achievement in overturning Roe v. Wade. We are saving babies' lives, and we should take pride in that victory. In South Dakota, Rick Weldon, a failed Democrat who ran unsuccessfully for the U.S. House of Representatives and state, managed to get constitutional amendment on the ballot. This amendment, known as the Constitutional Amendment G, aims to restore the permissive abortion standards of Roe v. Wade era by incorporating them in our state constitution. The mainstream media has supported this initiative at every turn. That's why we produced and introduced a powerful new video on Father's Day called Graveyard. And so in South Dakota, there is a battle coming up in the near future whether to put abortion as a state right. And what Roe versus Wade being overturned did, it pushed it back to the states. And then you have very extremely conservative states like Alabama, Mississippi, and Tennessee that seem to be taking very good, strong. They have trigger laws to make sure pro-life agendas are carried out. And then you have other states that are kind of meandering through it. And they have, of course, the pro-abortion states are going to find ways to kill babies. And that's what's sad. The kids end up paying the price for all this. And that's what's very sad. A German study, a vast majority of people will grow out of transgenderism within 5 years. A massive years-long study shows the overwhelming majority of young people who identify as transgender will grow out of the diagnosis within 5 years. And this is a study in Germany at the Central Institute of Statutory Health Insurance. And they've done this study from 2013 to 2022. And basically saying that transgenderism is nothing but a mental illness and a phase, that 68% of kids that go through this will revert back to the gender of their birth. Makes you wonder, why then are they so quick to push kids into these sex surgeries when they're so young and so vulnerable? It's very sad, is it not? Well, we got a mother standing up for good health reasons. Have you ever heard of the fructose addictions, etc.? Well, there's a senator wanting to have it banned from food. See what you think.
High fructose corn syrup is in hundreds of food products people eat every day. It's in soda, ketchup, Pop-Tarts, Hershey's syrup, and more. But Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna wants it gone. She introduced 2 bills she says will increase food health and safety. One would ban high fructose corn syrup in foods produced in the United States.
What we're finding is the food quality and some of the additives in our food products are actually making us sick.
The FDA states, "We are not aware of any evidence that there is a difference in safety between foods containing HFCS 42 or HFCS 55 and foods containing similar amounts of other nutritive sweeteners with approximately equal glucose and fructose content, such as sucrose, honey, or other traditional sweeteners." That explanation does not satisfy Congresswoman Luna, who called the FDA complicit in poisoning families.
And so people that are, for example, relying on government assistance are actually being fed the cheapest stuff that long-term increases disease and causes them to be sicker. So it's actually a huge problem.
High fructose corn.
So I just don't know if you've heard me say this, but if you ever just said it real slowly, Food and Drug Administration. Who in the world would think of putting food and drugs under the same administration? Hello! That's wrong. There should be a food administration and a drug administration. Why would you want to put food and drugs together unless you want to put drugs in the food? Because you're not putting food in the drugs. Savvy? What she's saying, I think, is very true. There's a lot of things when you go to read on the back of a can and you can't even pronounce half the crap that's in these things, that ought to tell you what's going on. A lot of these things are also ingredients to make you addictive so that you'll continue to consume the product. Interesting, is it not? Well, Prime Minister from Italy pretty much tells the truth about the Hamas war. See what you think.
I think we have to remember who began that, and it wasn't Israel.
So first of all, we should remind that there was somebody who took civilians, women, children, and did something that was incredible. Now what we have to do is to work for peace, and it is exactly what we are doing. And to work for peace, we have to dialogue, and we have to recognize the right of Israel to be safe, the right of Israel to be to live in peace, and the right of Palestinians to have their own state to live in a peaceful way. And it is exactly what we are doing. And it is the only way to deal with this problem. It's not about simply saying something about somebody. It is working, dialoguing with everyone. What I said before and what I think is that Israel, it looks like Israel is jumping into a trap. For the trap of Hamas was to isolate it. Seems it is working. So who's friend of Israel needs to give clear words to Israel for its safety, and it is exactly what Italy is doing.
Well, way to go. The Italian Prime Minister, she is very conservative, as you know, on many issues, and she is advocating that Hamas started the war, and we must not forget that, and they surely did. They're the ones that came in on the hang gliders with the machine guns, gunning down 300 innocent college students, and then taking many of them hostage, and the raping and pillaging that they did. And somehow they claim the victim role. You don't start a fight with atrocities and abuse and then try to go around and scream, "We're innocent." That doesn't fly with folks with common sense. But some of you can get brainwashed easily, and you may say, how does that happen? Well, the New York mayor said it pretty well.
There is a movement to radicalize young people, and I'm not going to wait until it's done.
Eric Adams, who's obviously the mayor of New York City, was asked about the various groups that have been showing up to Columbia, because we just have no numbers on how many of these people are students in the first place.
I saw similar indicators from the Black Lives Matters March when it was brought to my attention that there were those who came to the city to disrupt our city, and she was able, through her team, was able to conduct an investigation, and what I feared was actually materialized and actualized by those who were on the ground. And I know that there are those who are attempting to say, well, the majority of people may have been students. You don't have to be the majority to influence and co-op an operation. That is what this is about. And so if we want to play the word police, you could do so. I want to play the New York City police, where we're going to protect our city from those who are attempting to do what is happening globally. There is a movement to protect our city from those who are attempting to do what is happening globally, who are attempting to do what is happening globally, do what is happening globally, happening globally, happening globally, happening globally. There is a movement to radicalize young people, and I'm not going to wait until it's done and all of a sudden acknowledge the existence of it.
That's the mayor, a Democrat mayor, speaking pretty bold about this global movement to radicalize young people. And even the governor of New York, Shaka Ruber, wants to ban masks to keep these protesters from hiding their identity.
Should protesters be allowed to wear face masks? That's a debate happening among New York lawmakers right now. Governor Kathy Hochul says she is considering a face mask ban on subways over concerns people are concealing their identity to get away with anti-Semitic hate crimes.
We will not tolerate individuals using masks to evade responsible for criminal or threatening behavior. My team is working on a solution, but on a subway, people should not be able to hide behind a mask to commit crimes.
Hochul says any face mask ban would have to go through the state legislature, and lawmakers are currently looking at their options. Hochul says there would be exemptions to any potential face covering ban, including those wearing masks for health reasons, like over COVID-19 or pollution concerns, and also cultural and religious exemptions. The governor didn't specify how officials would police the policy if it were to take effect.
Well, that's the problem right there. If you're going to let people use it for religious purposes and all these, they're just going to say, I worship the God of masks, so I get to wear my mask. But for them to at least be discussing it tells you that the left is aware that we don't trust these protests. They weren't legit. They were nothing but a group coming in like every year, right before a presidential election. It was Antifa, Black Lives Matter, this Palestine group, Scooby-Doo, Who Knows You. It's every year. 2028, there'll be another movement that will come in and try to disrupt and infect the community. I'll be back.
The U.S. Surgeon General says the threat social media poses to children requires urgent action. Now, Dr. Vivek Murthy is demanding Congress put a label on apps similar to warning labels on cigarettes and alcohol. Dr. Murthy pointed to studies that reveal the impact social media has on depression. He spoke with today's Savannah Guthrie, who asked if social media platforms can do more to deter young people from becoming addicted to these apps.
What has happened over the last nearly 2 decades that social media has been around is truly unconscionable when it comes to the health of our kids. We have allowed these platforms to exist, to evolve, to proliferate, to really occupy so much space in our children's lives. And our kids themselves are telling us about the mental health impact. You know, I've just finished a college tour where I spent time with young people all around our country, and they brought up social media in every engagement we had, talking about how it makes them feel worse about their body image, how it makes them feel worse about their lives as they're constantly comparing themselves to others. But here's the thing, Savannah, many of them say that they can't get off it because the platforms are often designed to maximize how much time our kids are spending on them, and despite the fact that many of them are experiencing harm. That has to change. It's why last year I called on Congress to put in place safety standards like we did for cars and other products to make social media safer. It is not okay for us to put the entire burden of managing this on parents.
And Dr. Murthy says when Congress authorized warning labels
spying
for
on you? Since workers first shifted home at the start of the pandemic, company use of employee surveillance tech has exploded. And even though many employees have returned to office at least some of the time, companies are still keeping track and apparently cracking down on slackers. This week, we learned that Wells Fargo canned more than a dozen employees after it said they were simulating keyboard activity instead of working. The bank didn't reveal whether the workers were in office or at home. A wider company policy is to be in person 3 days a week. In the last 4 years, workers have become more resourceful when it comes to deceiving employers' attempts to monitor their activity.
Here are 5 easy ways to pretend you're busy at work or school.
Social media is filled with tips to get away with appearing busy, like mouse jigglers that move your cursor while you're gone, some selling as low as $10.
This is the USB mouse jiggler from Meat Auntie. So it comes in this nice small package here.
There are also keyboard clickers that simulate typing, hitting random buttons to fool your boss. But recently, all that clicking and jiggling is getting noticed. Wells Fargo isn't the only company blurring the lines between work and privacy. JP Morgan, Barclays, and United Health Group track everything from emails to keystrokes. Some companies even track eye movement and take screenshots. A recent study by the Harvard Business Review shows companies spy on employees at their own risk. The study says monitored workers are more likely to break rules and damage or steal workplace property. Researchers also say spying hurts a person's moral compass, leading to bad behavior. Instead, they suggest a work environment built on trust and autonomy over surveillance control. For more stories on surveillance, download the Straight Arrow News app and turn on notifications for...
So, is your boss spying on you? That's the lead of the article. Because a lot of people are finding these little techniques. You can buy these little jiggler and wiggler devices that makes your mouse move or your keyboard move, so you can maybe go do other things. And so companies are becoming concerned that they're noticing productivity's down. And so the working from home since the COVID has been a big debate. And if you remember, Elon Musk was a big changer in that. When Elon Musk took over Twitter, they got rather upset with him because Elon Musk came in and said, listen, I don't think that's a good thing. Well, Elon Musk has gone on the record again, and this is interesting because he is the owner of Tesla and all the modern advances that we're making in cars and space travel, etc. But Elon Musk issues an urgent warning to humanity. And he's saying you must have humans to have humanity. So he's evidently concerned about some things with the upcoming humanoids and the robots coming our way. He goes, speaking on the artificial issues of artificial intelligence, declining birth rates, Musk insists that we should be very concerned. I repeat, Elon Musk says we should be very concerned as these rates are accelerating in most countries. The implications, according to Musk, are dire. But it's what he said next that is very telling. Okay, and let me scroll down here and let him say this. Elon Musk issues urgent warning for humanity. If there are no humans, there's no humanity. Musk said we must be very concerned about this imploding and the birth rates, and we must get young families back to having children. And I have to agree. In a sort of extreme form of environmentalist movement, people start to view humans as a plague on the surface of the earth, as and you got people like Bill Gates with this depopulation society, and they think that we've overpopulated, so they're trying to talk people into not having children. Well, the problem is it's your higher educated people that are not reproducing and procreating. And so they're probably going to extinct themselves out, which would be kind of humorous. But Musk described this as extinctionist movement. Extinctionist movement. He didn't stop there. Musk elaborated on the dangers of the ideology, stating, I think it's a fundamental level. You can think of things as a fight between expansionist and extensionist philosophies, and that's really what matters. If humans go extinct or civilization collapses, whatever policies we may have are irrelevant if there's no one here to live them. And I think he's true on that. So the final message is to go forth and procreate, he said. The host representing this podcast smiled and laughed. He said, yes, go forth and multiply. But that is what Elon Musk was saying, and very, very carefully. Now, artificial intelligence already skewing the 2024 election information. They're predicting a Japan scientist, I played his clip a couple of days ago, predicted that 40% of American jobs will be replaced by artificial intelligence. Cab drivers, bus drivers, they're going with these electric vehicles. They're also going to be moving towards artificial intelligence on a lot of these things that we take as everyday jobs. Waitressing, cooks. There's going to be a lot of things. There's actually a McDonald's in Chicago that has no humans working. Everything is completely machine run, from the drive-through to the cooking of the food, etc. So we're getting to a point, and Elon Musk, I think, has a good concern, because there's a growing level of concern about actual disinformation and statements that simply are not true. And they're afraid that some of the artificial intelligence are literally being programmed with misinformation about our history, about certain things of how to react to certain maybe pandemics or illnesses, and which would lead people to, to destruction. Mark Zuckerberg's $40 million handouts during the 2020 election, many felt was a big tip to the Democrats, and that broke many financial campaign laws, but of course he was never touched. So we're going to see what happens, but they're predicting that artificial intelligence could play a role in this upcoming election with information searching as well as people just getting that. Far left Southern Poverty Law Center, these guys are more liberal than the ACLU now. Southern Poverty Law Center just laid off 25% of their employees. And so they're claiming, but what some of them are saying undercover is because they're investing in AI, artificial intelligence, that will help them do their research so they don't have to pay salaries, health benefits, vacations. You got it? A lot of companies are going AI, and many are concerned, and rightfully so, because we're all afraid of the future and things we don't know about. A German study said vast majority of people will grow out of transgenderism within 5 years. I don't know if you heard this, but a massive year-long study has come out. It actually was 2013 to 2023, and they found that a huge majority, almost 68% of kids with what they call gender dysphoria, transgenderism, they will go back to their original gender. And so almost 70% tend to go back to their original gender. Thus the question, why then are they pushing these surgeries of sex change on children? Why not allow them to get older and make sure this is the choice of their future? Because once you've had the sex change, you can't go back, my friend. You understand that, do you not? Well, Donald Trump now favored to beat Joe Biden in 538 election forecast. This is Newsweek that came out with this. Former President Donald Trump has edged a slim lead over Joe Biden in a presidential election forecast. The presumptive election presidential nominee is set to face incumbent Biden in November, and the polls have so far shown the results of the 2020 White House rematch to be tight, but leaning towards Donald Trump. He is winning in the swing states and the battleground states, and Biden has been decreasing. This is a shock to many Democrats because they thought the upcoming convictions of Trump would hurt them. It has backfired. The interesting thing is Donald Trump has raised over $400 million since the conviction. And the big question on the internet today is, where is Hunter's mugshot? They put out Donald Trump's mugshot almost immediately. He embraced it. But where is Hunter's mugshot? Again, media biased, and the people are owning up or being wise as they're seeing this. Daily Wire says half of voters expect Biden to fall asleep during the debate. And that's an interesting thing because they're projecting that in the debate, Biden will have a lot of problems. Well, CNN just announced the rules for the upcoming debate. Listen to these rules and see if you think this gives Biden or Trump the advantage.
The first presidential debate of 2024 is less than 2 weeks away now, and its host, CNN, is announcing its rules. The 90-minute debate, which is set for next Thursday, June 27th at 9 p.m., will have 2 commercial breaks, and campaign staff will not be allowed to interact with their candidates. CNN says both President Biden and former President Trump have agreed to appear at a uniform podium with their positions determined by a coin flip. Unlike previous debates, there will not be a live studio audience for this one. Also new this year, no opening statements. And each candidate will have 2 minutes to answer questions, then 1 minute for rebuttals and responses to the rebuttals. If it is not a candidate's turn to speak, his microphone will be muted. They also won't be allowed to bring props or pre-written notes. The debate, which is one of 2 agreed upon by the president and former president, will be moderated by CNN anchors Jake Tapper and Dana Bash. Biden and Trump are also set to debate on ABC in September. By coming up with their own debate schedule, the 2024 presidential candidates have sidelined the Nonpartisan Commission on Presidential Debates, which has long worked to provide neutral rules and make sure debates are broadcast on all major networks.
So what say you, my friend? Does that sound like no opening statements, no audience, and they're going to turn your mic off so you can't interrupt or talk over each other? So it sounds like this is going to be major in favor of Mr. Biden, but we shall see. This is Macil Duncan with the Macil Duncan radio show here on U.S. Heartbeat Radio and Street Level America. Also, Destiny Life Media and 96.9 FM. I'll be back.
Hi, this is Rob Mitchell, Rutherford County Assessor of Property, and I love to listen to the Macil Duncan Show because it's one of the few places that actually tells the citizens the truth about what's happening in their community and in America. I know that when I listen to Macil's show, I'm hearing the truth, and I'm hearing an honest man give an honest opinion. Thank you, and God bless you.
Have you ever walked by a gravesite and wondered about the person buried there? What is their story? What did they look like? Were they loved? At myforevermemories.com, based in Chattanooga, we want to help keep the memories alive. We thought of something called a memories box. It's a 6x7 by 2-inch transparent container that you put on a gravesite, and in that you can put cards, pictures, handwritten notes, notes to the departed loved one. It's all about keeping the memories alive. So many good people have gone before us, and we need to keep their memories alive. My Forever Memories supports WVMG Radio, Destiny Life Media, and the Macil Duncan Radio Show. Let us not forget those who have gone before us, those who have spoken into our lives, those who have mentored us, those who have loved us, and those who have spoken great words when we needed to hear them. Well, the words aren't being spoken now, but they were in the past, and they have made an impression on our lives. We should remember those who have gone before us. That is one of the founding principles of myforevermemories.com. Website, myforevermemories.com. Join us in remembering those, and we have ways to do that. We support WVMG Radio, Destiny Life Radio, and the outreach of this radio station. And let us not forget those who have gone before us. There are so many ways to remember them. Join us in remembering them at myforevermemories.com. It is time for the Church of Jesus Christ to roar. That is one of the core principles of Metro Tabernacle Church in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Their mission is to restore the roar in the body of Christ by establishing a foundation of faith in the Word of God through the power and demonstration of His Holy Spirit. They will reclaim the original intent of God for the church through training, equipping, releasing believers, and raising up leaders who will carry the roar of the Lion of the tribe of Judah to build strong local churches. And we all need that. You can find out more information by going to their website, myroar.org. Metro Tabernacle Church is located at 2101 West Shepherd Road, at the airport exit off of Highway 153 in Chattanooga. Let's roar.
Welcome back, my friends. This is Macil Duncan. And don't forget, Tennessee legislators are asking for a prayer across the state. Nashville, Governor Bill Lee has signed a House Joint Resolution, HJR 803, into law on April 16th. The state senator, Mark Pody, and House Representative Monty Fritz signed a joint letter May 29th encouraging Tennesseans to join in a 30-day season of prayer and intermittent fasting for the month of July, as it means humbling ourselves to receive God's grace, mercy, blessings in Tennessee and our nation. Again, Governor Lee is asking for all of us in the month of July to have a time of fasting and intermittent fasting and prayer for Tennessee and the nation. And I appreciate him doing that. I thought that was very kind. The other thing I thought was interesting was in Maryland, though you have a different reflection. The Maryland governor issues a mass pardon of over 175,000 marijuana convictions. How about that? So it depends on where you live. Maryland's governor releases 175,000 marijuana convictions, and Governor Lee issues a decree for prayer. So it does matter where you live. And so Tennessee is a great state to live in. Daily Mail has the secret Democratic plot to replace Biden revealed. How Clinton, Obama, Pelosi, Schumer would topple the aging president, and when they do it. Now, there's so many people out there. There's a Q community, everyone predicting this. But nearly every time President Joe Biden appears in public these days, he fuels the chatter. And this is on the Daily Mail. I'm reading the article. Will aging Joe bow out of 2024 race? Will he be forced to step aside? In the latest incident, former President Barack was seen on Saturday reaching for Biden's hand and seemingly guiding the 81-year-old comatose commander-in-chief off the stage at a Los Angeles fundraiser. And many folks have talked about it since, that Biden looked lost, and even though they did raise $30 million, it was very embarrassing per se to see the commander and chief, some are calling the comatose in chief, not knowing where he was. And again, Obama had to lead him. And many feel, well, Obama's been pretty much leading him all the way anyway. But that's a difference of opinion maybe. But there's a lot going on. There's a lot of prayer and a lot of things happening in the faith community. But CBN reports a powerful moves of revival, and this dear lady had a big case or a big part in this revival. Listen to her story.
All right, so you have been on the forefront of so much of the revival going on campuses around the country. What has it been like to see that fire in students?
I mean, I've never had more fun in my entire life. It is so real. There's no hype. Like, they actually are hungry for God. It's been the most beautiful thing. It's through a ministry called Unite that Tanya Pruitt started, and Jonathan McLeod and I have just been going and preaching the word. And my friends that have come, they're like, gosh, this is really stripped down. It's really raw because it's planned in 4 weeks. Students are planning it. They're inviting us, and they are responding to the gospel, and they are showing up in droves. So it's been super encouraging that this generation wants God.
How surprising, I mean, obviously you've been in this ministry, you've been doing it, but how surprising has it been to see that level? I mean, you were baptizing people in the backs of trucks recently.
Oh, we've been baptizing people every other week. I mean, and we go up, last time it was up to like 1:30 a.m. I'm too old for this, but it's the time of my life. I'm so happy. It is surprising, but I will say in 2018, I remember that was the first time I spoke and Gen Z was in the room. I was at Texas A&M and we were in an arena. And I just said, hey, I want you to, whatever's holding you back, I want you to say your sin. They didn't stop for like an hour. I mean, they wouldn't let me. I kept trying to close because I wanted to honor the time, and they would not stop. So I saw something special in them the minute they showed up in the room. They were hungry. They were willing to be honest. They wanted God. So I'm not as surprised as other people are because I've been watching it since they showed up and didn't even have a name yet. I didn't know they were called Gen Z, but something had shifted in the room.
How has this changed you? You're in the midst of it. How has it changed you?
I am so single-minded. If God is bringing a generation to himself, and I believe in turn the generations above him, right? I think it will spread. If we're in that moment, I want to just keep my head down and be faithful and not be distracted by many things. So for me, it's given me such clarity, such boldness. I want to serve God and I want to serve them well, and I don't want to hold back. We are not holding back. We're talking about sexual purity. We're going to all the places. And they are like, yes, give me more. So,
and these ladies that started in Auburn University, you may have heard, and they saw hundreds saved and baptized. And actually, the head coach there, Hugh Freeze, helped baptize students. Came to the University of Tennessee. Over 800 students were baptized. People were getting saved and set free. And you're saying, can this happen in colleges across the country? Absolutely. You had the Asbury Revival not too long ago. Many feel was a move of God that struck across the college campuses, and that's been, 3 years ago. Then you had the Jesus Revolution movie. And then some felt that the human trafficking movie that Jim Caviezel was in was also a spiritual moment across the country. So as these things all were happening, God's got a plan and a design, of course, my friend. You're seeing now a movement among Gen Z and among them. But the other interesting thing is I found another interview, a lady explaining how 54%, though, of Gen Z ladies are leaving the church because they don't seem to understand what is a woman. And when I was growing up, this was an old commercial, Anjali, about what a woman is. See if you ladies remember this one.
I can put the wash on the line, feed the kids, get dressed, pass out the kisses, and get to work by 5 and 9. 'Cause I'm a woman, Anjali.
Give her Anjali, the 8-hour perfume for the 24-hour woman.
I can bring home the bacon, Anjali. Fry it up in a pan, Anjali. And never, never, never let you forget you're a man. 'Cause I'm a woman.
Anjali, the 8-hour perfume for your 24-hour woman.
So the 24-hour woman, the woman's movement, if you will, that was an early 80s commercial. Things have changed. You can't now define what a woman is. You remember Judge Jackson, when Marsha Blackburn, our senator from Tennessee, asked her to define a woman, she said she can't. Marsha Blackburn looked at her, the senator, and said, "Excuse me, you can't define a woman?" And the judge said again, "No, I can't." So a woman could not define what a woman is. They are attacking gender in the world and in America. Here is a young woman, a Christian, explaining her views on her daily blog. I thought this was interesting. This was just a few days ago.
For now, a popular question that Matt Walsh made an entire documentary centered around: what is a woman? Is a woman what we see today? Majority of women today hold the notion that men aren't crap, that posting a photo in the closest thing to being naked is liberating, that making abortion so readily available has been a step in the right direction, that sex has no real meaning or value, and that pornography is a highly respected job. We are certainly living in a time where porn, sex, and murder is justice. Suddenly, the Christians are in the way of what women want to do with their own bodies. But ironically, women were all once pretty much on the same page. The fact that the early church prohibited abortion was one reason women flocked to Christianity. Today, people that oppose abortion are considered to be anti-women. But in the ancient world, people recognized that to be anti-abortion was to be pro-women. The church's opposition to abortion communicated that Christians cherish the female contribution in bringing new life into the world. So crazy that we can do that. They treated women's uniquely female role and function with respect. I mean, we even see in the story of Jesus that when he was just an infant, there was a king at the time that heard the Messiah was being born. So he ordered that all male babies under the age of 2 years old be killed, which is known today as the massacre of the innocents. And that is exactly what a baby is. The devil has convinced an entire generation of women that this is to be praised. Those that walk with the devil know that this is exactly what the devil wants. That's why child sacrifice is even a thing. That's why the harm done to children is in such high number here on this earth. And how we are living in a time right now where that specific wickedness is being brought into the light, and all of this news is coming out. When did we get to a point where women stopped valuing children, stopped desiring to be a mother, that stopped recognizing the unbelievable blessing it is to have a child, to bring life into this world? I wanted to highlight so much on abortion because I feel like it's such clear evidence that the devil has made his way into my generation and the generation to come. This is what happens when we have an entire generation that does not know God, that puts their faith in tarot cards more than they do God.
Okay, so I know learning tarot is super intimidating.
Let's practice tarot, shall we?
If you just got a new tarot deck, don't call him and don't text him. He's coming back and he's planning to be with you forever.
That puts their faith in witchcraft more than they do God.
Hi, Annie here from Coven of Gaia.
that puts their faith in a movement that hates men, praises the killing of unborn children, and calls porn liberating. On top of all that, we're seeing an entire generation of women that do not value sex, that feel Christians who say that sex is a bond between two people are crazy, that having sex with as many men as you are attracted to is normal, and celibacy, that's outdated. Just swipe on an app and find someone to help you feel good for one night and never talk to them again. That's considered normal. And I'm not saying this to judge or attack anybody. This is the narrative that was fed to us, when in reality, so many women have been blinded and tricked by the devil to fall into the lie that having sex with a bunch of people is not going to have any damaging effect on you. The reason you become attached to a person you've slept with is because of a chemical released in your brain that pair bonds you to that person. It's called oxytocin. It's crazy, right? It's almost like we were created by design, by a creator, by God. This is why hookup culture is so damaging to us. And the reason he left us this to tell us, hey, maybe don't go and sleep with a bunch of people. Have sex, of course, but do it in the safety net of marriage. Marriage is a gift by God because it was designed to protect you and the person that you love. On top of all that, Christian marriage was also so very unique given the way things were back in the Greek-Roman culture back then. The Christian view of marriage was nothing short of revolutionary. At its core was a new form of sexual equality. To the shock of the ancient world, both sexes were held to the same moral standard. Christianity condemned promiscuity among men as well as women. It stood out as radically different because it taught that a husband actually wrongs his wife by committing adultery. Marriage was a good thing and is a good thing, and it used to be valued by so many women. But today, men ain't crap. And what effect did this have on men? Alright, I guess we ain't crap. And now many men have no interest, and have no interest in even getting married. I see my comments and it breaks my heart. The devil has destroyed the idea of people wanting to even get married. And I'm sorry if you disagree with this, but this all comes back to the feminist movement. Another thing that women have flipped the coin on is modesty. Modesty used to be something that most women valued as well, and that's because, and I'm not gonna say what you think I'm gonna say, because men can't control themselves, which the Bible does say, don't make another brother stumble. But besides the point, regardless of that, the reason why women dressed modestly is because women are worth infinitely more than the sum of their body parts. And they knew that. They knew they didn't need to show everything to get a man. Their beauty was enhanced by how they carried themselves, how they spoke, their personalities and charm, and that was more than enough for a man to desire them. This is another topic that I will go so much more in depth on in another video, another day, because I have so much to say, as you could imagine. But yes, we have strayed so far away from valuing purity in not only what we do, but what we wear. Even OnlyFans is seen as a respectable, hard-working job. If you say otherwise, you are going to be attacked. I was, so that's how I can speak for that situation.
Okay, that was Taylor Alicia. Okay, and I've got, if you go to the Facebook Runner, I've got it, this is called What a Real Woman Looks Like, Taylor Alicia. She looks to be about 19, 20 years old. She's had over 88,000 view this video alone, and this was, I pulled it up this afternoon at 1. I think it's still clicking as I speak. To have a young person speak with that kind of biblical accuracy on the issues of today, I think is rather amazing. And I think if you've got a kid in high school or a young girl in college, high school, maybe even middle school, you might want to go to YouTube, parent, watch it yourself, but you might then want to let your daughter listen to this and have an honest discussion. What a Real Woman Looks Like by Taylor Alicia, A-L-E-S-I-A. What a Real Woman Looks Like by Taylor Alicia, and it is powerful. Now, I only played you the first 5 minutes. It's actually close to 10 minutes long. She covers a plethora of issues, but it's very true about what society is doing to our young people today, making death of children acceptable, pornography, selling your body acceptable, doing hookups with people you don't even know acceptable, and it's pretty much degrading your self-worth and your body. And again, it goes against the method God meant for the family unit of a husband and a wife. I'll be back after the breaks.
Hi, this is Rhonda Tate. I'm from Chickamauga, Georgia. And I love listening to your show because you tell all the truth. and you're God-fearing and God-loving man. And I also love the Lord, and thank you for all that you do. I appreciate it.
It is time for Christians to roar, to make a difference in the community. That is the belief of Metro Tabernacle Church and Dr. Steve Ball. They have the School of Roar. The School of Roar is hosting a summer 2024 The Prophetic. Classes open to everyone, and registration is free. Do you want to learn how to work more in the prophetic? Attend one of the class schedules. Registration deadline June 2nd. There will be a class Tuesday, June 18th at 6:30 p.m. and one again July 16th at 6:30 p.m. You can register at the website metrotab.net or myroar.org. That is myroar.org. It is time for the church to roar. 917society.com, led by Joni Bryan from Nashville, funds the National Education Order 108447 in 1959 that declared Constitution Day in public schools, and that's something we sorely need. More than 1 million kids last year got a free copy of the Constitution, and this year's goal is 2 million kids. Imagine that. The Constitution in the hands of 2 million American kids. On September 17th, all public schools are to distribute and educate students on the Constitution of the United States. If you'd like to help out, 917, that's 917society.com, led by Joni Bryan of Nashville, Tennessee. And remember, the goal this year, 2 million copies of the Constitution in kids' hands. And you can help. Again, the website, 917society.com. Jesus said, "You do it unto the least of these, and it's as if you were doing it unto me." There are many hungry people in our communities. The Appleton Food Bank feeds over 3,000 people every month, and they could use your prayers. In these troubling times, the number of clients they are serving is increasing. You can make a donation today. Go online to appisonbaptist.com. appisonbaptist.com. Food drives, prayers, financial donations, all help. They have rented 2 old grocery stores. They're open 7 days a week for donations, and they distribute every Monday and Friday. The motto at Appleton Baptist Church is taking Jesus as he is to people as they are. And you can get involved and help feed the hungry. Go to the website, appisonbaptist.com.
Well, I played a couple of clips there just so you could hear about these ladies that have started that revival that started in Auburn. It's gone to Tennessee and several others, and it's amazing. But then the young podcaster and her view on her current generation's deception of the devil. Well, I'd like to play for you real quickly then as we get ready to close out the show. This is the 700 Club, CBM Christian Broadcasting Network, why a majority of Gen Z women are leaving the church. This is not encouraging per se, but it's facts that we need to know.
Young American adults are leaving church, and surprisingly, women, not men, are leading the way. A survey released by the American Survey Center found that 54% of Gen Z women have disaffiliated from religion. Survey Center found that 54% of Gen Z women have disaffiliated from Center found that 54% of
I just want to replay that to make sure you were paying attention. 54% of Gen Z women are leaving the church. Okay, I'll stop.
Men are leading the way. A survey released by the American Survey Center found that 54% of Gen Z women have disaffiliated from religion. That compares to 46% of Gen Z men. Well, joining us to share her thoughts is campus reform correspondent at the University of Florida, Emily Sturge. Emily, it's good to have you with us. So you believe this finding is a result of false narratives about feminism and Christianity. So explain what you're seeing happening both on social media and college campuses.
I do, and thank you so much for having me. I think this is a very concerning trend, and I think that this alarming rate of Gen Z women in particular leaving religion has to do with these false narratives when it comes to Christianity and when it comes to feminism. The left and the Democratic Party has sold this lie to young women in my generation, and they've told us that in order to be free in today's society, we need to reject traditional roles like being a mother or like being a wife, and instead focus on our careers and sacrifice our family life. As a Gen Z woman, I've seen how women in my generation have fallen victim to these feminist lies, and I've seen how women around me on my own college campus have completely demonized traditional values, and they've rejected religion as a result. I think the root of this problem runs very, very deep, and in order to understand it, we need to look at the radical lies and propaganda that the modern feminist movement directs at women in my generation.
Well, I was astonished to learn that 61% of Gen Z women identify as feminists, and that's the highest ever. 31%, almost 1/3, identify as LGBT. So tell us about your own experience in the classroom. What are professors telling their students about motherhood, sexuality, and marriage?
I had one professor, a male professor, who constantly perpetuated this ideology and claimed that women are not equal to men in today's society, and told women like me that we're actually oppressed in today's society. I believe this is a classic example of how the left manipulates young women into believing that we're oppressed, and then they go ahead and tell us that in order to be free or in order to be liberated in today's society, we need to reject traditional values like being a mother or like being a wife. We need to reject religion in order to be free. That's why we're seeing so many young women misled into embracing leftist ideology and abandoning their faith as a result.
Well, as a result of that, Gen Z is now believed to be the loneliest generation, and many of us boomers thought COVID shutdowns caused that, but I know you believe it's also a result of this indoctrination. So what is the effect on families, on the mental health of young adults?
When we look at this trend of young women leaving religion, it's very important to note the mental health implications. Data does show that Gen Z is the loneliest generation and is facing a mental health crisis. Gen Z women in particular report lower mental health than Gen Z men. I think religion provides community, it provides social support, it provides hope for the future. And as more members of Gen Z, specifically women, are rejecting religion, we're left with a generation of young people who are struggling to find purpose and meaning and community, which is contributing greatly to this mental health crisis.
Well, with that mental health crisis, the Surgeon General has released what he is finding social media to be a problem. If you spend more than 3 hours a day on social media, you are possibly allowing yourself to have social or mental illness issues and can create problems in your life. And he's issuing this warning for children. He believes a warning label needs to be put. See what you think.
The U.S. Surgeon General says the threat social media poses to children requires urgent action. Now, Dr. Vivek Murthy is demanding Congress put a label on apps similar to warning labels on cigarettes and alcohol. Dr. Murthy pointed to studies that reveal the impact social media has on depression. He spoke with today's Savannah Guthrie, who asked if social media platforms can do more to deter young people from becoming addicted to these apps.
What has happened over the last nearly 2 decades that social media has been around is truly unconscionable when it comes to the health of our kids. We have allowed these platforms to exist, to evolve, to proliferate, to really occupy so much space in our children's lives. And our kids themselves are telling us about the mental health impact. You know, I just finished a college tour where I spent time with young people all around our country, and they brought up social media in every engagement we had, talking about how it makes them feel worse about their body image, how it makes them feel worse about their lives as they're constantly comparing themselves to others. But here's the thing, Savannah, many of them say that they can't get off it because the platforms are often designed to maximize how much time our kids are spending on them, and despite the fact that many of them are experiencing harm. That has to change. It's why last year I called on Congress to put in place safety standards like we did for cars and other products to make social media safer. It is not okay for us to put the entire burden of managing this on parents.
So some like that. Now others say, now wait a minute, is this the government once again trying to get its hand in the parental role? You can see it either way you want, but for them at least to acknowledge that there is addiction to social media and that children. So I encourage parents, please don't parent your child by handing them a tablet or a phone to play games and to watch things just so you can have some me time. I'm a big fan of that me time. I think that's something you should really rethink and ask yourself, is that something that's for real? Speaker Mike Johnson just spoke a few moments ago and had this to say.
That basically is a simple concept. It's that if a president or vice president is challenged in court, in a state court, they would have the right to remove it to a federal court. That's a very common sense notion. It's something that's already in practice for federal judges and members of Congress. It should apply to the executive branch as well. And I think it shouldn't even be a controversial notion. He didn't bring up that specific piece of legislation. He did talk about his concern about the lawfare that's been waged against him, and we all know it. And I made the point in my introduction of him that it's backfired fantastically on the Democrat Party and the activists who are trying to use our judicial system to exact political vendettas against the primary opponent that they have for the control of the country. And what we've seen is outrageous, and we've also seen the polling and the fundraising and everything else go in the direction of the target. President Trump has set fundraising records. He raised $53 million in the first 24 hours after the verdict in that terrible, bogus trial in Manhattan. And I think that shows that people understand what's happening here.
And I think they do. I think the people in America are wising up. And I think people also want to make sure that what happens in our elections are fair. And they're finding out now 320,000 ghost voters have been identified in the state of Michigan. And this is something that a lot of folks are concerned about, is the appearance, if you will, of unfair elections. Putting up pizza boxes and not allowing people to watch you count votes in certain parts. And so Michigan also made the news because a pastor had Donald Trump in to speak, and this pastor said that nobody, Biden or Obama, had been to the hood, but Trump came.
President Trump, I'm so humbled that you would be here. President Obama never came to the hood, so to speak, right? President Joe Biden, he went to the big NAACP dinner, but he never came to the hood. So thank you.
So this pastor was interviewed, but he lovingly called out Obama and Biden never coming to the hood, and it's the high crime area there of Detroit. And he was on Fox News and did a great interview, and I thought was very well done. And so a lot of things are being said. The poll numbers right now, Donald Trump, with the recent poll today of the election today, he's winning in all of the swing states and the battleground states right now. He's having a surge, and they're having a tough time explaining it. And many feel Trump would win hands down. If the election were today, things could change. They're having their first debate coming up, and so I think that's interesting. But they're doing all these parody songs, and here is one about Donald Trump. See what you think.
Trump the Don, back at it again. This time in the countryside. Shout out Jason Aldean, Morgan Wallen, and Dana White. I could have just retired in peace. I could have been golfing with my niece. I could have been chilling on the beach, but I got too much love for the streets. Hey, let's make America great for every religion and race. Yeah, men don't have a vagina. The radical left works for China. All I ever wanted for the USA was a good economy for your family. Protect the southern border, make a place that's safe for your kids to go outside and play. Look at San Francisco, take a look at LA. Look at New York City, man, it just ain't the same. We all know the radical left is to blame for weaponizing your religion and race. Hey Nancy, tell me how that house is so fancy, but you only make $100K a year. How'd that happen? Your husband Paul prancing in his panties, just dancing with his boyfriend in your mansion. That actually happened. These politicians pretend that they care, but only look out for themselves. It ain't fair. The economy is not what it was, but I'll die trying to wake her back up. All I ever wanted for the USA was a good economy for your family. Protect the southern border, make a place that's safe for your kids to go outside and play. Look at San Francisco, take a look at LA. Look at New York City, man, it just ain't the same. We all know the radical left is to blame for weaponizing your religion and race.
For weaponizing your religion and race. Anyway, that's obviously must be some kind of AI voice, but that's what's happening. You're seeing all these parody songs, and there's just a lot of pro-Trump stuff on the internet right now, and I think a lot of folks are really amazed by this. And I'll just play the end of this one that got a lot of attention earlier in the show.
To make the country better than it's ever been, but you got Biden's lies. And if you love the country, then we're on the same side. I got love for America, I got American pride.
And that's called God Bless the USA by Donald Trump. So it's a lot of music. They're reaching out in the younger generation, as the polls are showing. The younger generation of blacks, Hispanics, and even Caucasians are reaching towards Trump, and it's blowing the Democrats away. They really thought that forgiving the college debt was going to help Biden, but it's been caught with so much riffraff. There's not been the smoothness I think that they were kind of expecting. And so I think that's where they're at right now. And so there's a lot of, I guess, speculation. But, my friends, you still got, 3.5, 4 months till early voting. Until it all goes down, you just never know. Don't count your chickens before the hatch. You may have heard that said before. But I believe that's the best way to consider it, because none of us know the future. And I think that's something for sure. I mentioned earlier that Elon Musk put out a warning again today that we need to procreate and encourage our kids to have children. He said they are banking on depopulation, and they're discouraging kids. And let's just be honest, the homosexual movement, the transgenderism, they can't procreate. And by getting kids to have these surgeries, they can't reverse them, so they can't procreate. And then you're having some folks feeling that in some of these medicines and some of the foods we're eating. They're also saying there's a concern that there's the testosterone in men has been affected with some of this. So you just kind of go, wow, there is a lot, I guess, out there. And the Food and Drug Administration is that not weird? Just say it slowly. Food and Drug Administration. Well, here is Miss Congressman Luna. She's wanting to do something about this. See what you think.
High fructose corn syrup is in hundreds of food products people eat every day. It's in soda, ketchup, Pop-Tarts, Hershey's syrup, and more. But Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna wants it gone. She introduced 2 bills she says will increase food health and safety. One would ban high fructose corn syrup in foods produced in the United States.
What we're finding is the food quality and some of the additives in our food products are actually making us sick.
The FDA states, "We are not aware of any evidence that there is a difference in safety between foods containing HFCS 42 or HFCS 55 and foods containing similar amounts of other nutritive sweeteners with approximately equal glucose and fructose content, such as sucrose, honey, or other traditional sweeteners." That explanation does not satisfy Congresswoman Luna, who called the FDA complicit in poisoning families.
And so people that are, for example, relying on government assistance are actually being fed the cheapest stuff that long-term increases disease and causes them to be sicker. So it's actually a huge problem.
High fructose corn.
So I don't want if you agree with Miss Luna or not. One of my 3 girls, she is very. She's taken herself off this and is more into whole foods, and her health has greatly improved. Feels much better. Her weight's down, etc. So it's something to consider. Again, Food and Drug Administration. I mean, you don't put necessarily food in drugs, but you can put drugs in food, especially if it's under the same tent. I think it'd be great if they separated that and had a drug administration and a food administration that inspected one another instead of being together. I just think that's an oxymoron in my opinion. TBI, I want to remind you again, has got an all-out alert, a top 10 wanted. This guy was a principal, and he is wanted because he molested children, he raped children and had incest, and he is he's on the run. He's a principal in the middle part of Tennessee, Murray County. A former mid-state principal has been added to the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation most wanted list for multiple charges, including rape of a child. Okay, and if you see anything, contact Murray County. The gentleman's name, he was the former principal at Longview Elementary School, and he's wanted by the Murray County Police. And so if you'll keep an eye out for this guy, he is wanted, and I'm trying to find his name again. Irwich is his last name. He's 5'6", 180 pounds, brown hair, blue eyes. He's grown out a beard to kind of change his appearance, but he's wanted for rape, child rape, and incest. And he had an ankle monitor that he was able to get out of, and it's very sad. This guy was a former principal of an elementary school, and so he is on the run. So if you'll have a look out for that. Chick-fil-A is having a camp, and they're being accused of being sued for child labor laws, but they're trying to have a camp, trying to encourage kids and teach them how to build business, etc. And you might want to check it on the Gateway Pundit and some other apps after have the story. But sadly enough, Chick-fil-A, trying to do something good for the community, is being assaulted by the liberals. And is anyone surprised? I don't think you are. Again, this is Macil Duncan on the Macil Duncan Show. And I want to remind you that also there's another app out. Is Your Boss Watching You? This caught some interest today. I'll play it again on our way out.
Is your boss spying on you? Since workers first shifted home at the start of the pandemic, company use of employee surveillance tech has exploded. And even though many employees have returned to office at least some of the time, companies are still keeping track and apparently cracking down on slackers. This week, we learned that Wells Fargo canned more than a dozen employees after it said they were simulating keyboard activity instead of working. The bank didn't reveal whether the workers were in office or at home. A wider company policy is to be in person 3 days a week. In the last 4 years, workers have become more resourceful when it comes to deceiving employers' attempts to monitor their activity.
Here are 5 easy ways to pretend you're busy at work or school.
Social media is filled with tips to get away with appearing busy, like mouse jigglers that move your cursor while you're gone.
And so on. The one hooks up to a revolving fan and a ruler, and you tape it to your mouse. And so as the fan rotates, the taped mouse moves and it deceives your employer. But the bottom line is, eventually you may make them think you're on the computer, but when there's no production, there's no product. You see, my friend, that's what I not realize. And so, like at Wells Fargo and these other companies, they're firing people because they're finding out that they've been lying, saying they're working when they are not. Well, this is Macil Duncan, and I am the Patriot Pastor, and I appreciate you guys listening. I'll be back tomorrow. God bless, Godspeed, and I love this song by Mr. Coffee.
It's the guts and it's the glory. 100 stripes, 100 stories. It's the Pledge of Allegiance on the 4th of July. It's them handwritten letters from home. It's them sleepless nights alone. It's his newborn baby he left with his wife. Mr. Red, White, and Blue, lay down, here's a line. Mr. Red, White, and Blue, for these stars and stripes, hey. From the fields of Indiana to the swamps of Louisiana to the golden coast of California, Uncle Sam's the only family he's got. His Purple